you're doing the AB show. Say, welcome to the Abel Joseph Show.
Welcome to the AB Joseph Show.
So you guys might be wondering why Abel's with me tonight, and that's because when I said, hey, it's time for me to go do my video, AB grabbed me by my hand and said, let's go, Daddy. And he walked me into my little room here, and he sat down, and I have, a couple Bibles sitting here, and he says, Daddy, I don't want to sit in the Bible. And he wanted to do a show, right? Can you say hi to everybody?
Yes.
Go ahead, say hi to everybody.
Hi. Hi.
Can you say hi, Sheila?
Hi, Sheila.
Say hi, Anna.
Hi, Emma.
Hi, Laura.
Hello.
That's my boy. Oh, echo. Sorry. Let's take care of that. There we go. There we go. Now we get rid of echo. How's that? Is that better, buddy?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Also the back of this.
There you go. That's better. Everybody says hi, Abel.
Hi.
Can you tell everybody what you did today?
I played at the cup park.
Right. And what else did you do? You jumped on.
So I go jump round the bound. On the round bound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell me what did you jump on? What did you jump on?
On the trampoline.
That's right. And who did you jump on the trampoline with?
The flame's ready.
That's right. And did you have fun?
Yes.
And did they bounce you really high?
Yes. There was how the
What, handsome?
there was the back of this.
On the back of this? So I'm just waiting because, one of the things is, you notice I started my videos earlier. And part of the reason I did it at 9 o'clock was because, every night I put my children to bed, except for Abel because he doesn't have to go to bed this early. But and Amanda's now giving the girls a hug and kiss before we go to bed. And so that's kind of why he's in here with me right now. But tonight's video, and again, I want as many people to come on here as possible. I understand, YouTube's got me under a massive shadow ban right now. I mean, it got so bad to the point where when they demonetized this channel again, I went from thousands of views per short down to less than 100 now. And I'm not going to let that, stop or deter me in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, we've always said that no matter what happens, we're still going to go ahead and preach and do these things. We do have a Rumble account, but, at the end of the day, when things get as bad as they are, I would, and again, you guys can do what you want, but I'm just saying one of the things that we want to do is we want to go be able to reach you guys outside of social media, because again, social media is where they get to control the narrative. And, again, one of the bad things about social media is, and this is partly after talking to, Brother Adam today and Jim, is that you can't glean what somebody's saying in a comment or a chat to you. We look at it and, we don't really know whether somebody's being sarcastic, whether they're being so. And then, of course, as people, incur and they're arguing and whatnot, Facebook loves that stuff because, it's that drama, that back and forth stuff that gets the most amount of interaction. And the way the algorithm that Facebook is designed is whatever gets the most people watching and involved and, commenting and whatnot, the algorithm puts that out there even more. So we're looking at it, we're helping Facebook, but, I said, why don't we just pick up the phone? And a lot of things get worked out when you pick up the phone, then you can understand. And that's what led me to do tonight's video. Some of you saw the video I did Friday, and yes, Friday I was upset. And part of the reason why I'm doing this video is because, again, as a male, as a Christian, we're told that we're not allowed to get upset about things. Now, I'm not a crier. I think in the last year, 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it is, I think I've cried twice. Once when Ruben died and when my mother died. That's pretty much it. But, again, this idea that we're not allowed to have any type of emotion, especially when it comes to child sexual abuse, is ludicrous, and it's insane. And one of the things I've learned as a street preacher is, and I'm very different than your typical street preacher. And I think most street preachers probably agree with that as well. I'm not, I'm relatively newer to the street preaching groups, if you will. I haven't been around since the 80s and 90s. This is true. And I was more of a social media guy prior to me becoming an open air preacher. I've been open air preaching for 6 years now. And again, tonight's video, and I hope you hang with me, is I'm going to give you a lot of backstory, a lot of backdrop before and you'll understand why I said, let's talk about it. Because I myself am a victim of child sexual abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. And my stepmother, she literally tried to kill me and my brother when we were younger. And, I'm able to talk about it, and it doesn't get me, talking about it in and of itself, it doesn't bother me because it's part of my testimony, right? And the Lord delivered me. So the things that I was dealing with as I got older, before I was a Christian, that's not there anymore. But that doesn't mean when people try to weaponize that, to use it as an attack, that doesn't mean that it's not going to elicit some sort of emotion. And I'm not saying this anything specific, but in a general rule, to tell somebody who was a victim of a horrible, horrible thing like child sex abuse, and they say, listen, just suck it up, buttercup, is absolutely ludicrous. And, I spent some time with Adam today, talking with Adam, and I asked him flat out, what would you, in this current situation with the 2 or 3 guys that are literally attacking me, and especially, and my intention tonight was not to use their names, but I'm going to, because you need to be aware of JT Olson weaponizing the child sex abuse that I went through. He did that on purpose in hopes that I would lose my cool and then go back at him so he could play the victim. He's a gaslighter. And I'm allowed to get upset and angry about somebody using that kind of stuff against me. He's a monster. And the fact is, you guys like, Frank Long, that guy's a crazy guy. And anybody else who Quincy Franklin now jumping on it and liking the stuff, it just shows you what horrible human beings these people are. Because as much as I stand against the LGBT and the drag stuff, there are some people within that community that unfortunately have dealt with child sexual abuse. Sometimes that's why they are the way that they are. And I don't use that to say, oh, that's your excuse for being that way. But you don't mock and you don't weaponize their child sexual abuse to attack them with. That is a horrible thing to do. And only a satanic monster would do that. And anybody who even defends that or attempts to defend doing that or justifying it is just as bad. If you've never been through it, you wouldn't understand. And I don't expect you to. But what I'm going to do, tomorrow, I plan on calling CPS in New Jersey, because this is where it happened when I was a child. CPS is Child Protective Services. And they have the file that's forever. Now that I'm over 18, obviously, I'm allowed to request the records. And I'm going to. And I'm going to do it for one reason. Because I want to show you the pictures that are in that file. I want you to see. And I'm not doing it for, believe me. But if you understand the depths of what was done to me as a kid, maybe if you can actually see the bruises head to toe on me, maybe some people would understand it's not funny. It's not something to joke about. And maybe some of you who follow these guys, and again, there's not many to be honest, there's only a few. But anybody who follows these guys or even gives them any clout whatsoever, I don't care if it's 1 or 2 people. If you think that using child sexual trauma and child abuse as a weapon, a tactic to justify what you're doing to this person, you are an evil monster. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what the situation is. I got a call from a brother the other day, and he said, if I even thought for 1 second that you thought that I thought that it was funny, I would go out of my way to call you to make sure and apologize that it even came across to me, because I don't even think I could sleep at night knowing that somebody would think that. And I think that that's a normal person's reaction. So I want to show the pictures, especially the one that, now I can only really remember one, and that's when my stepmother took a stick and whacked me across the back, and I had a huge welt across my back that they got a nice picture of across my back. I think showing the pictures to guys like, Alan Puckett, who thought that was funny, and then lied, and he did lie about it. And we reposted what he said, and he lied. And again, my intention in this video is not to go out there and name names and go after each guy, but you need to be aware of who these people are, because they're evil monsters. Whether you agree with me or not, they absolutely are. Taken from somebody who has been through this as a kid, they're evil monsters. It is what it is. But I'm going to show the pictures and say, what's so funny about this? And I'm going to read some of the reports about bleach being poured down my throat as a child. Okay. So the point of this video is, it's something after talking to Jim Gillis and Adam Bishop today, I realized not a lot of preachers out there know what to do in a situation where we're in right now. Because again, as Christians, we're always taught we're not allowed to have feelings, if you will. And let's be honest, we do that. And you're right. We are not led by our feelings. That is 100% true. But we have to understand that we're not led by our feelings when it comes to the truth. Our feelings don't trump the truth. We're allowed to have feelings. God created emotion. We're allowed to have that. It's one of the ways we deal with life. We deal with happiness. Because again, if people are smiling and they're happy, that's an emotion. So why is that allowed, but being upset or angry is not allowed? And again, I'm speaking generally, of course, nothing specific, and this is not a shot at anybody in particular. I'm just saying. And I realize that unless you've been through something like this yourself, you don't really understand what kind of things go on. Now, again, the Lord has delivered me, and I'm going to talk some backstory here of what happened and the impact that it has, even to this day. To pretend like there's not a remnant of that there, of course it's there. It's one of the reasons why, let's look at logically, one of the reasons why I vehemently oppose this agenda that's targeting children for sexualization and abuse. I am vehemently against it. And then we have guys like that JT guy who literally say, well, you were abused as a kid. Is there something, why are you so focused on this? Do you understand what that is? That's a satanic attack to try to get me to stop doing it. And I will die defending children. If I have to give my life in protection and defense of children, I will do it. There's not a single human being on this planet that's going to stop me from doing what I do. Okay? I will absolutely defend any child. And I would do everything in my power to a child that's been abused to help them, which we do. But so I want to explain to you what happened to me as a kid so that you can understand. And maybe some of you watching who thought that those comments were funny when you saw JT weaponize talking about my testimony as child sexual abuse and weaponizing it and using it against me to infer that I have demons is disgusting and reprehensible. And I know he's watching. And of course, he'll probably make several posts defending and justifying his actions. Now, before I move into that, I want to say this. I will stand by this statement 150%. JT Olson is an LGBT activist. And so is Eric Love. And let me explain why I say that. Those two guys helped lesbians get that restraining order in Oklahoma. They minimized their role in it, saying it's not a big deal. And as I explained, when the Chief Justice of the Oklahoma State Supreme Court makes a motion to disposition in his court, look that up for yourself and see. They only do that to cases they deem extremely important. They help those lesbians, thus, and believe me, I've talked to several people, journalists and everything else, that literally makes them LGBT activists. There's no other way around it. That's what they are. They help them silence Christians to say the Bible's hate speech. So here we have, again, people who are acting like sodomites, because only a moral monster, a reprobate, would take something like child trauma and use it as a weapon. Now, I've given my testimony about what happened, but I never went into depth. So I'm going to go in depth, and I want you to understand the impact it would have. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're watching this live, you're watching after the fact, what I'm going to talk about is not going to be easy for some people to hear, because I am going to go into detail about what happened to me as a kid. I'm going to tell you some things that are going to probably make some of you cry. Because when I got saved initially, and I first went to church for the first time, and I told my story, everybody that heard it cried because of it. When I tell you as a child I went through hell, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating it. I know some people would very much like to claim that, which again makes you a monster. Because anybody that tries to minimize abuse is evil. Anybody who says that, we're not allowed to do whatever is evil. And at the end of after my story, what I want you to stick around, because I'm going to explain to you that even though some people's intentions are good when you want to help, saying the wrong thing could traumatize somebody even further. It's like asking a woman who was just violently raped and she's dealing with a flood of emotions. What was done to her was evil and horrific. And I've seen it, and I've heard churches say, well, you have to forgive your attacker as he's out living his best life now. Every single counselor, Christian or not, would tell you that is the wrong thing to do. Now, your intentions are probably good and noble, but saying that is actually like making her get victimized all over again. So some of us are not qualified. And we think that just because we're Christian, that automatically qualifies us to deal with things like that in people's lives. And most of the time, we're not. Okay? We try to. We want to be there for people. Absolutely. That's what we do as Christians. But even in our pursuit of being noble and trying to help and comforting somebody, saying the wrong thing can actually make things worse sometimes. And I'm going to show you that at the end of this. But I really want, so I just want to warn you what I'm going to talk about here. I'm not going to go through my entire testimony, but I'm going to give you the abuse portion of it. I've never said it publicly. There's only very few people that actually know what happened to me. And I say this knowing that people like JT Olson are going to use this maybe tomorrow, maybe next year. They will use it in an attempt to attack me. And at this point, I'm already aware that every single person that yoked up with him at this point is just an evil monster. Because anybody that does that and thinks it's okay, or even gives it a pass, is a morally reprehensible person. I don't care who they think they are. Whether you like me or not is indifferent. I don't think there's a single person watching this video that thinks that mocking child sexual trauma, or even talking with somebody else's sexual abuse in an attempt to attack them that claim they're demonized, which, by the way, is what these charismaniacs are doing now, saying that anybody who deals with these issues, the impact of child is demonized. You're re-victimizing people and don't even know it. And I already know what I'm going to talk about today. It's going to be used against me in the future. I know that, and I'm prepared to deal with it when that happens. And when it does happen, and don't make no mistake about it, it will, because these guys are monsters. I want you to understand why people get upset about it. And telling them not to be upset is like victimizing them all over again. When I was a kid, my father divorced. Now again, as I say this, my father himself did absolutely nothing to me. But my father my mother and father got divorced, when I was very young. And, my mom, she was a drunk, and she did physically abuse us as children. Everything may not be in chronological order here as I go back and forth, but I'm just explaining all the abuse things that have happened to me so you understand. My mother broke my wrist when I was a kid, and then blamed me for breaking my wrist. So she took a metal spatula and went to smack me with it, and I put my hand to block her, and she hit my wrist and broke my wrist. And the spatula actually bent around my wrist. It was a spoon, sorry, bent around my wrist. And she said, well, if you didn't put your hand there, it wouldn't have happened. So not only did she physically beat me with a spoon, she blamed me for the injury as a result of her doing that. And then I had to go to the hospital to get a cast put on my arm, and I had to lie to the hospital staff about what happened to my arm. Or else I would have went into foster care. They would have taken me away, put me with this, and I would have been abused, blah, blah, blah. So I want you to think about this. My mother broke my wrist, then blamed me for breaking my wrist if it was my fault that she did that. And then I had to lie about it to the hospital so that something worse didn't happen to me. Now, again, when you're not involved in that, I know to you listening, that sounds horrible, but think about what that does to somebody. It's my fault I got hurt, and then I had to cover it up or else something worse is going to happen. You're told to be quiet. Don't talk about it. Or else. Okay? And this is at a young age. Seeing my mother get drunk, talking about she's going to take her own life with me and a couple of my siblings, and I'm not going to mention their names or which one because it's not my place to tell their story. But I was very well aware of that and witnessed that myself. And I was told at a very young age that I had to be the father to my younger siblings by my mother at 5 years old. So I already had that to deal with. So there's emotional, physical, and sexual abuse in children. There's all of these things put together. Well, anyway, moving forward, my father, obviously, he married my stepmother, and she was a nasty, nasty, nasty woman. I mean, he met her because my father was a police officer, and my stepmother had a reputation. Not my stepmother now, but my father's second wife. She had a reputation for giving the best oral sex in town. She used to drive a blue Corvette, and that's everybody knew her. She drives a blue Corvette, and she does this. So obviously, all the police officers and then everybody wanted to know who, hey, let's go get this chick, whatever. And anyway, that happened. Anyway, my father married her, and my mother, you know, she couldn't take care of us anymore, and she gave us away. She gave my brother away, gave my brother, you know, but I'm not going to tell the story, but anyway, she gave me away. Dropped me off, packed my clothes up in a garbage bag, dropped me off. I go back to my father's house, and I hear them fighting about me living there. She didn't want me there. She didn't want my one brother there, and she certainly didn't want me there. And they argued and argued and argued, and I heard my father say, what am I supposed to do? So here I am, I'm hearing this after my mother just packed up my bags and just dropped me off. I'm hearing this. So the woman didn't want me there. Now, after that, abuse starts. She literally, and here's the part where some of you are going to, you know, get whatever, would beat us with a police belt. And I don't know if you've ever seen a police belt from the, you know, 80s, early 90s. I think it was 80s. Let's see. But they had these little notches in them. They're very thick, and they had these notches in them. And she would take it like a strap and just whack us with it across our back, across our front, legs, feet, everything. She didn't care. I mean, beat us mercifully. And it happened all the time. It wasn't like a one-time event. It's something that happened quite often in my house. We lived in an apartment in Flanders, New Jersey. And I remember this like yesterday, this stuff. I don't remember every little thing, but every once in a while, a memory of it does come back. So this woman beat me from head to toe and my brother until we were black and blue, from head to toe. We were not allowed in our house. When we woke up in the morning, if we weren't going to school, we had to be outside. We were not allowed in the house. She didn't want to see us, wanted nothing to do with us. We couldn't eat, we couldn't go back for lunch, nothing. We had to fend for ourselves out there. And I say in the streets, and it puts me to laugh, because, you know, the streets that I had to do this in, it wasn't like the ghetto, okay? But still, young kids, my brother and I had to fend for ourselves. We weren't allowed in our house. When we came home, if she got mad, she would literally throw dinner plates across the room. She'd kick us, literally kick us. And it was just, and I can't express to you how getting beat all the time was as a kid. And of course, as this goes on, as you're a kid, you learn to start going outside of yourself. You start learning to kind of, in your head, go somewhere else when this stuff happens, okay? You learn, so this way you don't feel it. And you're told, as you're being beaten and abused, it's your fault, because if you didn't do X, Y, Z, then I wouldn't be doing this. If you didn't do this, then I wouldn't do this. If you weren't living here, I wouldn't be doing this to you. We're young children, and we're being told that the beatings are my fault. And if we tell anybody, it's going to be worse. Okay? You little SHITs, you little this, you little that, you scumbags, you piece of garbages, you piece of this, you this. Hearing this every day. Well, this woman unmercifully beat us. Okay? It was so bad to one point now, you know, we actually ran away from home, and we went to the woods, and, you know, we had already kind of planned this. You know, we started young age. Now, we're stupid kids, right? We're literally little kids. We already started planting like watermelon seeds. We built like a little tree house, you know, in the woods in this apartment complex, because they had these woods there, because we had planned on living in the woods and being away from everybody, because we knew if we said anything or got caught, it'd be worse. And we were terrified. So we got out of school one day, and we came home, and my brother had gotten a bad report that day. And she had told us, if you get a bad report, don't bother coming home. And we were on our way home, and he told me, and I said, well, then we can't go home, or else you're going to get beaten. And I'm not going to, you know, I can't let that happen. So we ran away. We went to the woods, and we stayed there for a while. And, you know, we saw, you know, when we didn't go home, and my father realized we weren't home, they called the police looking for us. And we saw the police cars looking around. They were driving around. We knew what they were doing, because they would use the sirens and saying, Richard and Michael, where are you? Sorry, I didn't mean to drop his name, but, you know, and I only do that because those monsters try to contact my family. That's why. So anyway, but anyway, he was getting cold. It was starting to rain, and we realized we can't do this. We're too young. We went to my friend Brent's house. His name was Brent. It started with a K, his last name. We knocked on his patio door, but it wasn't there. Now, he usually left it unlocked because we knew that one day we were going to have to run away, and he left it unlocked, so if we had to go in his house, we could, but it just happened to be locked. We couldn't get in. So now we're wondering, what do we do? Well, we came out of the woods, go up to the pub, and we went to this woman. She was an Indian woman, and she knew the police were looking for us because we were all over the apartment complex. They were all looking for us. I guess they thought we got kidnapped or something. I don't know. Of course, because abusers are never going to say what they're doing and why they're doing it. And she called my mom. She asked, whatever, and they called the police, and the police called my mother. And my mother, she's like, oh, you need to call your father. You need to do this. And we're like, we don't want to. I mean, they're going to hurt us. We just ran away from home. And now we're terrified because we're thinking, oh my gosh, we can't survive on our own. We're little. Now they're doing this. It's going to be horrible. Anyway, the police come. They took us down to the police station. My father comes and picks us up, and we go, and on the way to the house in the car, it was just silence. We get to the house, and my stepmother literally unleashed hell on us. I mean, literally unleashed hell. And not only did she unleash hell, but she took our clothes away. Only this, she dressed us in clothes for school the next day they were too small, and they were to humiliate us. Because we humiliated her. So it was our fault again. Took the laces out of our shoes, put them, and they were too small. I was wearing these brown work boots, a little kid, and I went to school. Now, we went to school, and my brother already, I guess he had said something. And I'm in class, and I will never forget this day. Miss Monguzzi was her name. She pulled me out of class, and she said, come here. I went to the cafeteria because we weren't allowed to eat that day. We were not allowed to eat. So they gave us breakfast, and the gym teacher, his name was Mr. Doritas. And we always thought he was a mean guy, right? Because he was a big, tall guy, and he always came across as mean, but he was I've never seen him as sympathetic as this. The man actually unlaced a football, took the lace out of a football, and gave it to me to put in my boots until they realized my boots were too small for my feet. So we're in and again, I know this is a long story, but bear with me because you need to hear all of this so you can understand what it does, okay? We're here eating breakfast, and all of a sudden, then we get called into this room, and I remember it was Miss Monguzzi, Mr. Doritas, and a woman, a teacher named Mrs. What's her name? Started with an F. So we're in there, and I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. I just know we got breakfast, and they called, I guess, CPS at the time. We're in there, and I remember I was sitting at the table. It was a round table, and then there was a woman there. At the time I didn't know who she was, but now I know she was from CPS. And then my father comes in, and we're all sitting there, and the woman looks at my father and says, "These kids are not going home with you today." And my father threw a fit, and they're like, "Look at them. Look at them." Because at this point now they were taking pictures of us, lifting up our shirt, taking pictures and all that. And my father cried. I had never seen my father cry at this point, but he got up and walked out of the room. And we went to a temporary foster home. It was a teacher there, and she took us in her home. And of course, now we're scared out of our mind because we don't know what's going on. Here we are now. We're taken out of our home. We have no clothes, no nothing. And Miss Anderson was her name. Mrs. Anderson was her name. And now we're in this one's house because it was such an emergency to get us out of there. They had to put us there until they could find an actual foster parent for us. They couldn't wait. And we stayed there, and it was actually not that bad. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and she treated us right. She took care of us, but we only stayed there temporarily. They found another foster family who was new to foster homes, and their name were Jody, and their last names were Ketchum. And, we were their first foster kids. And apparently, at least at the time, you had to take children temporarily and then to learn it and then, get your feet wet, see if you want to do it, and then, become after that. So we were like temporary foster kids there. And we were there for a little while. And again, they were great. I mean, they treated us right. We were actually happy there. There was no more beatings, no more abuse. We were happy. But once again, it's temporary. We had our own beds. My brother and I, we shared a room, she made us write a journal every day so we would never forget them and just kind of what's going on to kind of get that out, right? And I never really did that. You know, I was never, at this point, I'd already learned to close myself off and kind of keep people at arm's length. But we got passed off to other foster homes. But at this point, they split my brother and I up, which again was horrible. So I'm telling you this stuff because you want to understand all of this. You get ripped out, you're getting abused, you're getting told it's your fault, you're not allowed to tell anybody or else it's worse. Now you're going home here, home here, home here. Now they split me and my brother up. Now I was very fortunate, and my brother can, from this point on, if he wants to ever tell his story, that's on him, that's him, it's his story to tell, not mine. But I was very fortunate. I wound up with a wonderful family in New Jersey. They were great. Absolutely love them. Like when it was time to leave, I didn't want to leave. They were like the best people in the world. And from what I understand the foster care system, I was very lucky. Because not only did these people take care of me, every dime the state gave them, they actually put it in a suitcase. And when I left, they gave me the suitcase. With every money. They didn't even take them in the state. They were wealthy. But they took and gave me the money back. They gave it to me. During the course of our foster care, we were in foster homes. We were there for a while. My father never once came to see us. In the years we were in foster care, never once did my father ever come and see us. Not once. My mother did, but she had to have supervised visits. They weren't allowed to see us without supervision. But he never came to see us. And to be honest, we didn't really miss him. I missed my brother a lot. But never came to see us. Then one day, my foster father, Alan was his name, he sits me down and he says, I want to tell you, and he knew what was happening and I didn't. And he knew I was not going to take it well. But what he told me, he said, they're giving you back to your father. And I said, what? And I started crying. And I said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And he said, and this part does get me a little bit because this is the first time in my life. Now, again, here I am. I think I was in 6th grade at the time. This is the first time I've ever felt love from another human being. I went the first, 10 years of my life without knowing what it was like to be loved by anybody. My whole life was nothing but abuse, my fault for the abuse. And if you tell anybody, it's going to get worse or, whatever. When he told me that and he said, you will always be my son. And he meant it too, by the way, because him and his biological son and I were friends for a long time, even after I left. So he told me, you're going back to your father. And I didn't want to go, but I didn't have a choice in the matter. Now, I subsequently found out my mother gave up the fight because my mother's mother, my grandmother, didn't want us at her house. And my grandmother hated us because when my mother was born, my grandmother almost died. And she hated my mother for that and took it on my mother as if it's my mother's fault and then took it out on us. To give an example, my grandmother died. She had life insurance. My grandmother was a multimillionaire. And she left something for everybody except for us. Hey, her money, she can do what she wants with it. Just to show you how much she didn't like us. And my stepmother was like, oh, I love them. I'll treat them as my own. And my mom believed her. I'm not really sure why, considering what she had done to us before. But she did. And then they give us back to our father. And right away, my father, my paternal side of my family started saying my brother was sneaky and I'm a liar. Like, just started berating us for everything that had happened over the past few years. Immediately. And then the abuse started literally within weeks. My father tried making us call my stepmother mom, and I said, absolutely not. That's never going to happen. We were living in Fairfield, New Jersey at the time. Not going to happen. We weren't allowed in the house again. We had to live in the basement. And now, granted, it wasn't bad. It was finished and that stuff, so I'll concede that point. But still, we were not allowed to eat dinner with the family. My brother and I, we had to be kicked out of the house. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we had to be out of the house and came back in at 6 o'clock. And when we got dinner, it was watered down Slim Fast milkshakes and whatever else it was. And we sat in the kitchen, just him and I. And then after eating, we had to go in our rooms and stay in there for the rest of the night while everybody else had dinner and was watching TV and everything else. And we had to stay in our rooms the whole day. Then she started beating us again, hitting us. I mean, I remember one time we were so thirsty when she threw us out of the house that I jumped in and all the neighbors knew about this. They felt horrible. I jumped in the pool and started drinking pool water because I was so thirsty because it was hot and I had nothing to drink because we were not allowed in our house. Okay. So now now we're getting abused again. Now she ups it. So we're locked in a room. We're locked in a room. We're being tortured. We're not allowed out. If we did, we literally were peeking under the door. No TV. No, not that you need TV, but you see what I'm saying? Like everybody else out there laughing, and we're in a room like we didn't exist because she didn't want to see us, didn't want to know us, pretend like we weren't there, like we were a burden. The beating was our fault, of course, if we didn't want to eat what she made us. Those watered down Slim Fast milkshakes that she was drinking, whatever. That was our drink. That was the only thing we were allowed to drink all day. We were only at one meal a day. And that's it. But then one day she decided, while she had her sister there in a room full of people, and we were allowed out of our room one day. Now, my father was not there for this. But she decided it was time to up the ante a little bit on the abuse. So, what she had done, she had a room full of people there. She had her sister and her husband at the time. His name was Jimmy. And a couple of the people, I don't know who they were. And she decided to put us in the middle of the ring of people there and pulled down our pants and started masturbating us in front of everybody. And everybody just sat there watching and pointing as she was doing this to us. And I don't know how long it lasted because all I remember is that, and then I don't remember anything else. Even now, I don't remember anything else. I just remember her doing that. I remember the people laughing in that, and then I don't remember anything else. This is when I learned to leave. Like, my mind, I just wasn't there anymore. And then we ran away from home again after that. We went to my aunt's house. They had called my father and said, that's it. And another police officer came. My father came to get us, and he said, nope, you're not getting your hands on these kids anymore. Enough's enough. So we lived with my aunt for a while and everything else until my mom had a place, and not a good place. Mom didn't have a lot of money. I was raised very poor. Now, that's not abuse. I mean, it happens sometimes. But my mom was very, very just abusive in her own right to us again because she hit us, not like my stepmother did. She psychologically, again, would do all these things here to us and everything else. It was so bad that I could not wait to get the hell out of the house. And even as an adult, I said to my mother, I said, you ever wonder why every one of your kids left as soon as they turned 18? Gone. Everybody couldn't wait to get out of there. That's because of you. So all of this impacted me. I went to the Navy to get out of there. Okay? And I was fine in the Navy. I went to, I scored, a 99 in the ASVAB. I became a cryptology technician, which is a spy. I graduated my A school with honors and all that stuff there. And everything else, but I became suicidal. After the military had put me on Zoloft and all these other things here, they literally put me on medication that made me, whatever. And then after that, I became obsessed with death. I wanted to die. Like, I was literally obsessed with death. Everything about my life was dark. Everything was just dark. I cared about nobody. And I'm going to tell you this part, and again, I already know because I could feel it, that these guys are going to use this as a defense as to why they did what they did. And if you guys and you see these posts, please, I don't want to see it. I know I've said it before, but don't send me their stuff, and some people just don't listen. When they talk about this, I don't want to see it. But for the first time I ever had sex, I freaked out. Completely freaked out. And I couldn't even do it again after that till I was drunk, because that's whatever. And I only mention that because of the impact that stuff has even as you go as an adult. So my entire life was nothing but abuse, and hearing how horrible I was, and hearing how everything was my fault that this happened. And when you hear that stuff enough, you start to believe it. Maybe it was my fault that this happened. I mean, I'm just a kid, but was I a bad kid? Maybe it was my fault. And you start to believe some of this stuff because that's what you're told. So when people are out there and they're using this against you as a weapon, they're trying to traumatize you. And they're trying to tell you that because of this is why and they're trying to convince you of this, like that's what JT does. This, that, the other. Literally using that trauma to attack you. And the people that hate me just as much, and they're all part of the sodomite community, by the way. They all work together and everything else, which should tell you something about who they are and the spirit behind them. Every single person, and I make this claim very boldly, every person that even remotely thinks that JT is a normal person, you are just as evil as him, and you will share the same hell as he is. Anybody who does, I don't care who you are, even beyond him, anybody who thinks it's okay to take what happened to me as a kid like that and use a weapon, no. But before I became an adult, I forgot to tell you this. There was a time my stepmother held me down and poured bleach down my throat. She tried to kill me. I used to get poison ivy really bad. Like I was highly allergic to the point where my hands would swell up and my fingers would be like this and they'd be touching because of all the blisters. Let me tell you what this woman did to me when that happened. And there are pictures of me with my hands wrapped up after she did this. She's a nurse after all. A nurse who got fired for molesting comatose patients. But anyway, she would take my hands with these blisters from poison ivy. She would make a concoction of iodine, not betadine, but iodine and rubbing alcohol, put it in a bowl, take my fingers, pop and cut with razors the blisters, and stick my hands in this bowl. And watch as I screamed in pain. That's the kind of stuff that she did to us. And people want to go out there and laugh when people use it as a weapon. Okay? When I became an adult, I had no feeling. I'm not joking when I tell you I had absolutely zero feelings. I had no emotion, no empathy, no sympathy. I just didn't care because everything about me was just dark. And I did not want to be, I wanted to die. I turned to drugs. I became a drug addict. Which, by the way, they use that against me too, which is hilarious considering that these guys are all, convicted for drug crimes. And I'm only using that not to attack them. I'm telling you, this is what people like that do because people like that exist beyond our street preaching world. And I don't think street preachers understand what this does to a person when somebody like JT Olson is using that trauma as a child. He knew I was sexually abused as a kid. He knew I was physically abused and use it to attack me because he's some narcissistic piece of work that that somehow thinks that if he takes me down that he's going to step in and fill the gap. And again, there are people when he did this. I mean, Quincy, yeah, he's upset because of the oneness stuff, but to see him now friends with him, knowing that he's doing that, and you can't not know, you saw what he said. And that's supposed to be my friend. Now you know why the Bible says people like oneness are antichrist, because the spirit in them is antichrist. When you behave like that and even think that it's okay to be even, like and comment and yoke up with guys like this. That's just the way it is in this world. People are evil. We have real evil people in this world. But I went through my whole life not experiencing what it was like to be loved by another human being. And I know some people are going to say, oh my gosh, whatever. You try it. God did not create us to be alone in this world. God created us. God is a source of love. And a child knows what love feels like from their parents. When you don't get that and you're tortured, and I don't use that word in an exaggeration. I was literally tortured as a kid. And then you become an adult and women became nothing more than just objects. I didn't care about them. I used to make a joke whenever I dated a girl and I would say, if you fall in love with me and get hurt, it's your own fault because I am never going to love you. I am incapable of it. And they went, oh, stop. And I'm like, I'm just telling you. And of course, it became a challenge for them, and I never did. To me, it was just nothing more than a way to get my rocks off, if you will, at the time. I was a drunk. I was dating strippers. My life became a complete mess. I mean, a complete and utter mess. Because I wanted to die, but I didn't want to like take a razor blade. I didn't want to do that. Because I just felt so empty and dark. I can't explain it any other way. And then I get saved, and all of a sudden that darkness goes away. All of a sudden my desire to use women for sex went away. And for the first time in my life, except for that one incident with my foster father, I truly knew what it was like to be loved from somebody, by God. I knew that I was going to hell for my life that I was doing. I knew that, and the thought of hell was one of those things that woke me up to the reality of, oh my gosh, even though this horrible thing happened to me as a kid, God was trying to deliver me. He wanted to deliver me from that. And that even though that happened, I was still in sin, and not because I did anything wrong in that, but not that I did anything wrong as far as the abuse goes, but because of the fallen nature of this world we live in, this fractured creation, and as a human being with emotions and everything else, it happened. But God set me free from it. Now, with that being said, as Christians, we expect that when somebody is saved, that all of a sudden it's almost like they expect those memories to just go away. They expect that, if somebody brings it up and uses it against you, that you're just going to be like, oh, that's not so. When somebody uses that, it literally brings it all back, and and I'll tell you guys this, and I tell you this as a means of teaching. When these guys do this, okay, and I wouldn't even known that he did this video until JK pointed it out to somebody who told me. When you hear somebody post this and say things about your trauma as a kid, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and they're using it to attack you, it re-victimizes you all over again. The only difference is now, as a Christian, I'm not going to go dark like I did. But that doesn't mean that all those memories come back there, because all I kept thinking at this time here, and I want you to understand this, is everything that happened, this guy was trying, and I knew what it was. It was definitely the devil. Literally making me go through that again. And that's what his goal was. And then I see the physical post, like the words. He posted in the group purposely so I would see it. And then Alan Puckett laughs at it. And he claims he laughed at the part of the post where he's talking about being arrested. That wasn't in the post. I shared it. You could see what it was. And it was about the abuse I suffered as a kid and how now I have demons because of it. And by the way, don't ever do that. Don't ever tell somebody who was abused as a child that they are demon-possessed for feeling the way they feel. Do not in any way, shape, or form, Christian, minimize somebody who is dealing with the consequences or the impact of abuse in their life. Because you're going to re-victimize that person. You're going to tell them that it's their fault that they're demon-possessed now because of what somebody else did to them. Okay? And I know there's going to be some people that try to justify saying that. This is where I'm telling you. You're going to hurt people more than help them if you do stuff like that. And I'm telling you this from somebody who is a victim and literally a survivor of child sexual abuse. You will re-victimize people. Don't think just because you're a holy roller that you don't have the ability to do that. You do. And I know some people aren't trying to do that on purpose. But kids that are abused don't necessarily have demons because they're dealing with the issues of that abuse as they're adults. Okay? Don't for 1 second minimize that, because you're going to hurt that person all over again. And I know we're dealing with super spiritual people here, and not everybody is. But I'm telling you, from somebody who's went through it, you're going to hurt people more than you're going to help them. There are real issues, spiritually, emotionally, that people deal with when they have this stuff happen to them. And people are not demon-possessed because they're closed off from other people, because they don't trust, or because they're, whatever. That's not a demon. That is them dealing with, and that is the impact of what they've had to do to survive the abuse that they've suffered as kids. They've learned to close themselves off. They learn to shut people out so that people can't hurt them and abuse them anymore. They've learned that as a defense mechanism. And you cannot minimize that in those people. You can't say, well, just trust in the Lord. It's true, trust in the Lord. That is a part of it, absolutely. But you can't say that because you don't know what to do. If you are not qualified to deal with people in that situation, then don't try. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I'm not saying that to say whatever. Don't say, well, I'm a Christian, I can. If you're not qualified to deal with it, you can't. And you could wind up hurting people more than helping them. Not on purpose, but your desire to help, while that's noble, could wind up hurting people more. When you tell somebody, for instance, and this is, I'm not saying anything specific about anybody. I'm making this as a general statement. When you tell somebody, hey, brother, hey, sister, ignore it. You are literally victimizing that person all over again. And I don't expect people that didn't go through it to understand. But when you're abused your whole life, when you're sexually abused, when you're abused and told it's your fault that you're abused, and then told if you tell anybody, it's going to be worse, that creeps in. So when people tell you, when guys like that they bring that up as an attack against you, and then they laugh about it, and other guys laugh about it, and you say, hey, don't defend yourself, you don't understand what that does to somebody. It's not a demon. I know some guys out there want to say it's a demon to justify their behavior. It's not a demon. Okay? People deal with real issues. Real things happen to people. People get victimized. People get raped in churches. Don't act like it doesn't happen. It does. Don't think just because somebody's a pastor, that means that they don't, we've learned recently there's quite a few pastors out there that hurt a lot of kids. And they get away with it because they're told, hey, don't say nothing. But as an adult who has been delivered, when I see people doing that, and by the way, JK is absolutely complicit in that because he had to make sure other people saw that video of what JT said because he's upset because he got caught lying. He is absolutely 150, and nobody wants to take responsibility for it, for their actions, anything. Nobody does when this stuff happens. It's, well, we make excuses. Thus, you are doing the same thing that the abusers that did back in the day. You're re-victimizing people. You're making excuses. Well, I didn't know, or it's your fault because you did this or you said that. You're doing the same thing. You're perpetuating that system of abuse. And I know what I'm talking about here. People, street preachers, they don't like this stuff. Maybe it's start time you learn about this stuff because a lot of churches are filled with a lot of people who have suffered horrible things as children. I am by no means the only one, and I am by no means the worst case scenario. There are people that out there that went through a lot more horrible things than I did. But that does not mean that you get to minimize what happened to me, just as I would never minimize somebody else. And again, I make that as a general statement, nothing specific. In this current age that we're in right now, a lot of children are going to grow up victims of sexual abuse. But this time it's happening right in front of our noses. And I want you to think about this. Just to give an example of what I'm talking about. A child's at a bus stop, and a man walks up with underwear and rips up his jacket and starts twerking in front of that kid. That dude's getting arrested, as he should. But when they do it at a pride event, we can't touch it because it's under LGBT. Those people are sexually abusing and victimizing children, and those children are learning to close themselves off from it. And because they're so desperate for acceptance, because they want to be loved, they want to be accepted, they're going to allow people to do this to them, and they're going to do what the adults tell them to do for fear of retribution. Do you not understand this? And again, I'm saying that generally. When there's going to be a lot of kids in 10 years from now, they're going to be messed up because of what's being done to them as children today. And Christian, are you prepared to honestly deal with it? And don't tell me you're qualified because you're a Christian. You're not. Being a Christian doesn't automatically qualify you to be a counselor. It doesn't qualify you to know how to deal with people that are being abused. I understand through the Holy Ghost. I understand that. However, not everybody is qualified to deal with that. And when you tell somebody, for instance, and again, I make this as a general, not a specific, when you tell people, for instance, like me, and I'll use myself in this example here. When JT posted that and Alan Puckett laughed about it, I defended myself. And then when they actually justified their reason for doing it, and when Alan lied about laughing about it, which other people have all seen now that he lied about it, and then people are telling me, Rich, you just ignore it. And again, I'm making no specifics generally because that's what's expected, right? As a preacher, we just got to ignore the trolls. This isn't trolling. This is a whole other level of evil. When you say ignore it, don't fight back. You are literally doing the same thing that happened to somebody like me as a kid. And I'm not saying I'm going to be, whatever, but I'm just saying that in the future, when it happens to other people, you can't tell them not to fight back. Because the only way some people have is to fight back. When I became an adult and I saw my stepmother, she was in the street. I saw her, got out of my car. You know what I said to her when she started flapping her gums at me? See, quit flying blind. That's what I'm talking about. You let these people control your life and thinking. That is literally victimizing somebody all over again. See, don't talk about it, Rich. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You let these people control your life and thinking. And again, that's a guy that wants you to just say, shut up, don't worry about it, don't think about it. You're perpetuating system abuse. And I know you're a Christian, right? You're a Christian, so you don't do that, but you do. For somebody who's not saved, you say something like that to them, you're going to actually cause the abuse, relive the abuse all over again. You're the kind of person that says, don't talk about it. Don't give place to that. You're using scripture to shut people up to talk about their experiences. And like I said, I get it. You're a Christian. I understand it. Ruby, you say all the time, we're dealing with Christians here. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You're the kind of person that would, and I'm not saying you're doing this on purpose, so don't misunderstand me, but you're going to hurt a lot more people than you're going to help. You have no business even in this conversation. You have no business. You have no idea what these people do to myself. You have no idea. And I'm not going to defend myself to you. I don't need to. I'm simply trying to help others and encourage others. Because since, I did the video the other day, and I admit, I was not happy. Clearly I wasn't. But I've had somebody come forward since then and tell me that watching it, as hard as it was, helped them get the courage to talk about the abuse they suffered as a kid. No, you don't know. So you know what? You can just go somewhere else. It's all I ever talk about. You're a flat out liar. Anybody can see the channel and see it. You see what you do here? And I'm glad you're doing this because I want people to see what I'm talking about here. This is a Christian who thinks that I am, again, if you're really delivered, Rich, then this shouldn't bother you. Really? How were you sexually abused as a kid? How would you like somebody talking about this? You know what? I don't need to justify yourself to you. You're the kind of person we're talking about here. You are not qualified in any way, shape, or form. And I pray to God that somebody who's a victim of abuse never goes to somebody like you. You can just get rid of him. I don't need guys like that. He's the kind of person that says, just be quiet about it. And this is what we're saying here, right? Pull up our videos and see how much you discuss these people. Go ahead. But when they do to you what they do to me, I guarantee you'd be a lot worse. I guarantee you'd probably be fist fighting some of these guys. You have no clue. Go ahead, look at my videos. Again, nobody wants to talk about this stuff. There literally are evil men and women out there, and there are Christians out there that don't want to talk about this. All you want to do is rebuke homo events. All you want to do, hey man, we just got to rebuke the abortion clinics. And those things need to be done. Absolutely. But what about all the other stuff that comes with Christians? There are a lot of people out there that are hurting. There are a lot of people out there that have a lot of baggage, unfortunately. When you go to church, I'm going to give this example here because it does happen. When you go to church and you got a woman there who was sexually abused as a kid, and she's in church and she's enjoying her time in church and she's been delivered and she's set free. And all of a sudden you have a guy that comes in who has been convicted of abusing children. And then all of a sudden that guy sits next to that girl in church. What do you think's going to happen when she realizes she's sitting next to a sex offender? You can give it to Andre Chu. He's the biggest wannabe out there. Okay. Again, these are guys that don't want to talk, Andre is a scumbag. I mean, literally, he's just a wannabe that is in Canada that, whatever. Just, you can get rid of him. Who cares? But these are the kind of Christians to avoid at all costs. Okay. The guy's not even in America. The guy doesn't know his left hand from his right hand. So, and again, this isn't about you. All right. People that come on here do that, they're trying to make things about them. See, I'm the Christian. I'm the super spiritual guy. You're not. You're just a devil. We're actually talking about child abuse, trying to tell people how to deal with it, and you want to come on here and circumvent it. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Christians have no idea, and I'm speaking generally, not specifically, what to do with this. So the woman that's sitting next to this guy who she realizes is a convicted sex offender, what do you think that's going to do to her? Do you really tell that woman, hey, man, that guy's saved, just suck it up and sit next to him? Do you really think that woman is not, and there are churches, and it's happened, I'm telling you, it's happened. That woman left the church because of it, and they made her the bad guy because she didn't want to sit next to a guy who was a sex offender because the church said he's saved. Who are you to judge this man? Who are you? You're supposed to be saved, right? If you're really the Christian, then you shouldn't be upset by this. And thus, they victimized that woman all over again. And after that experience, that woman left the church and wanted nothing to do with churches anymore. And then that same woman, by the way, Christians said, well, that's because you had your faith in man, not God. Really? And you think that's the appropriate response to a woman who was victimized as a child, re-victimized in the church? You think telling her that she's wrong for wanting to leave the church after all that stuff came back to her, after the church, again, made it her fault that she was in the wrong because she didn't want to be near a guy who was convicted of a sex offense towards children, you think telling her that she had faith in man, you really think that that's the appropriate response? It's not. And look, I don't care about losing followers. I don't care about losing subscribers. I genuinely don't. Because again, I understand the world we live in, and I understand the nature of being a Christian and a street preacher and church, politics and all these things here. And these are issues nobody wants to deal with. Instead, it's just a matter of, well, suck it up, buttercup. Yeah, these guys. Let me tell you how bad, and so you can understand the depths of what JT and Erica. Let me just tell you this, so you understand what we're dealing with. These aren't just people running their mouths online. If it were, this would be easy to ignore. But I think you forget, Christian, these people helped lesbians get a restraining order where they claimed in their thing, whatever, that posting 2 Bible verses were akin to a threat and hate speech. There are several people that, and these guys want to minimize their role in it, saying it's not a big deal, it's blown out of proportion. You can go look on the OSCN website yourself. You can see all the briefs. You can even see the Supreme Court Justice literally make the motion himself because that's how important this is. So they didn't just troll, they helped them. They actually helped them and then defended helping them. They are LGBT activists. There's no other way to describe it. Not only that, but this isn't the first time they've helped LGBT people when it comes to me. Drag queens, homosexuals, homosexual activists always go to them, and they work with them all the time on this stuff. That's the truth. You can go look. I brought it up many times about what's on there. They are messaging my mother-in-law. They're trying to contact my oldest daughter. They are well, I shouldn't say they. At least Eric is stalking my teenage daughter online. Now, you men out there with daughters, I guarantee you, if you found some guy who was creeping on your daughter, you'd go down there and you would physically do something about it. And then want to criticize me for making sure you understand how dangerous these people are. Part of the ministry that I'm in is involved in exposing child predators, in every facet, whether they're sex abusers, whether they just prey on children in general to whatever. Child predator doesn't necessarily mean, it usually means sexual, but it doesn't always mean sexual. A predator is somebody who just preys on people. When you use child sexual abuse as an attack, even when I'm an adult, you're still preying on a child because you're talking about stuff when I was a kid. And anybody who thinks it's okay to use as an attack is somebody who I guarantee you, somewhere in their background, somewhere in their past or currently, they are doing something to children or watching it, or so I'm willing to put my life on it. Because there's not a person out there that would ever make a joke about or ever talk about child sexual abuse as a weapon to attack others. Never would a normal person do that unless that person is a child molester, a child predator in some fashion themselves. And that's a fact. Nobody out there that I know, okay, I know there are people that watch here that have had things happen to them. But I've had people, at least one guy come and tell me that he is very thankful for this. Because exactly what I'm talking about. He was raped by a man as a child. Was told to keep quiet about it. Even as an adult. Do you know what that's going to look like, man? People are going to use it against you. And while people were, again, in their minds, they were thinking to do something good, but they actually were hurting him even more. You just saw two Christian, quote unquote, people come on here today who want me to not talk about the evil. And this is a type of evil that most people will never deal with. And I praise God for that because you don't want this in your life. Because I have been very, very, very long suffering with them. Very long suffering. And they don't stop. They're going to stop now, I promise you. Because there are several people now that are involved in this. Because we've got people now we're working with that I am not at liberty to say because, again, there's some things you can't, that are involved in this. Journalists, and they're digging into all kinds of things. Because they believe everybody I've talked to, everybody that knows what's going on here, there are people, you remember, there are journalists that watch my Facebook, they see, they believe that these people belong in jail. They absolutely 150% believe it. And again, when you push somebody, when you do that, you push them to the breaking point. And like I said, yes, I am talking about it. And there's nobody that's going to tell me not to talk about it. Because if you're a Christian, when you're out in the street and you're a street preacher, you're going to deal with people that have backgrounds like mine. You're going to deal with people that have had awful things. You're going to deal with people that have had worse things happen to them than I had done to me. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to tell them don't talk about it? When their victimizers come out of the woodwork, when people who want, as they're doing good works and people see that, and QFB was unfairly banned. Just, again, what is he crying about it now because he got called out for being, whatever? Again, this is because people think just because they're Christian, they're immune to bad behavior. Where this comes from, I don't know. You want to criticize me? Fine. But like I said, I just hope and pray that nobody ever with a background like mine ever goes to you guys for help because you will make it worse. Don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. It's easy to say something like that when you're not involved. And I'm here for that, and again, I will admit 100%. That this official Street Preachers channel was not supposed to be for this. This is not something I ever planned to ever do here. But when it comes to part of a Christian isn't just preaching at pride events and abortion clinics and different events. That's a part of it. But what do we do beyond that as Christians? Is our function in the body of Christ simply to preach an event and then do nothing else? What do you do when somebody comes to you? How do you handle that? And like I said, I get it. As Christians, we all think we're qualified for these things, but we're not. You may not be qualified, even though you may want to. You may want to, and again, I'm not saying people are doing things out of malice. But people, when they, in the Christian world at least, when people confess things that they're dealing with, they're usually attacked for it. I just saw your comment there, Jake. You're absolutely right. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, you have a demon in you. Really? That's how you deal with things? That's what you tell somebody? They have a demon? What qualifies you to even say something like that to somebody? Let me guess, because you're the Christian, you're the authority? And again, I'm speaking generally, not specifically. And this is what happens in the Christian world. Nobody really knows how to deal with real human emotion. We want to over-spiritualize everything and make everything a spirit, and everything is a spiritual issue to a certain extent. But people do have real issues, real emotions, real feelings about things. And we cannot mitigate this. We cannot sit there and pretend like just because somebody has a feeling about something that all of a sudden it's, oh, well, you're this, you're that. You're a snowflake. There are snowflakes out there. They get triggered over things. Absolutely. You know, when you call a biological male a man and he gets all upset about it. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. But when somebody is literally abused or they're dealing with an actual medical condition and you go after them for that and tell them they're demons for it, you're a demon. You're a devil. And you are not qualified to do anything. You can't go telling people that are dealing with issues that are, you know, like I said, the woman that was raped. And I only tell you this because it's a story I know very well. And she was told by her church that she has to forgive her rapist. Now, let me ask you a question here before I go further with that story. How many of you, if a woman came to you and told you that she was raped, would tell that woman, you have to forgive, and be honest with me. How many of you would tell that woman that she needs to forgive her rapist so that she can deal with her anger and her own issues herself? So that she doesn't harbor anger? Be honest. And I'm not saying you're doing it because you want to do anything wrong. I'm just saying, but that's what we've been conditioned to do, right? No. Because now you make that way, and I know this story. I know the counselor that was involved in this. I know you literally have made that woman be raped all over again. As she sees her rapist running around with his wife and his children, not a care in the world. And you tell her she's got to forgive that man without any repentance from him whatsoever. Because you think that that's the right thing to do. No. And even if you do think it, don't say it. Because you are making it worse. And then what happens is when that woman goes out and she leaves you, oh, she's a devil. She doesn't want help. This is all pride stuff because every Christian out there thinks that they're let me rephrase it. I don't want to say every Christian. That's wrong. A lot of Christians think that because they're Christian, they are automatically qualified to deal with this and think that if somebody doesn't listen to them, well, then they're just not Christian or not saved. Or if somebody doesn't, react the way you want them to react to certain situations, well, that means they're not saved. We need to understand, even as a street preacher, and I have to do this with certain situations. Look, I am by no means qualified to talk to every person about every situation in their life. There are things that happen to people that I am not qualified to talk about because I don't know what to do. And what I would do in that situation is I would find somebody that does know and give them to them, because if I don't want to say anything wrong and make it worse for that person. I certainly am not going to accuse a woman who is viciously raped, who's struggling with it, that she has a demon. I'm certainly never going to say that with anybody, because that's re-victimizing the person. And in Christian circles, and again, I'm speaking generally, we're taught that anybody who has any feelings or emotions about things in their past, it means that they're not delivered yet. And that's not necessarily true, because people can be delivered from, like me, I could talk about it. I don't have any of the issues from when I was a kid. I don't live in a world of darkness anymore. I don't see women or use women as sex objects anymore. I obviously don't take drugs anymore. I haven't done that in a long time since I got saved. Any of that. I'm not doing any of that. So don't tell me for 1 second, because when they do this, that it upset me, that all of a sudden now, oh, look at that. You're actually victimizing a victim when you do that. And I know some people aren't going to agree with me because they think that they're I'm not speaking specifically to anybody. But there are people out there that are so prideful in themselves that they think that they have all the answers. And that anybody who dares have any reaction to somebody using something like that in their past is automatically somebody who's emotional, as if being emotional is a bad thing anyway. God created emotion. And then further victimize somebody by telling them that they should just deal with it and not talk about it. Well, that's fine. But anybody that does that to you, if that happens to you, you can come to me. I will not victimize you. I will listen to you. I will not call you a demon. I will actually try to help you the way that God wants us to do things. I'm certainly, so if that happens to you, you are more than welcome to come to me. And if you have a problem with that, you can unsubscribe from the channel. You can leave my platforms. I don't need people like that in my life. I really don't. Those guys that came on here today and said, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And this was a part that really hit me hard earlier. When people do these things to you, we're expected to just lie down like doormats, take it. You would never let a homo do this to you. You would never allow a child predator. You would never allow any of this to happen. Some of you would even do things that you shouldn't do as a Christian to deal with this. But unless things like this happen, and don't say it happens to you because it doesn't. Even Ruben told me. Now, Ruben's had a lot of videos made about him. Not like this, but he's had a lot of videos made about him. And he's ignored most of them because most of them troll it. There's a lot of videos made about me too. Most of which, if you look on some channels, the homos made him, whatever, you'll notice I never mention him. Because there's no reason to. One video, whatever. But even Ruben himself told me he's never seen anybody get hit the way I've been getting hit. But these two guys specifically, he has never seen anybody do what they are doing to any one person. He's never seen it in his 40 years of ministry. He has never seen anybody do what those guys are doing. Ever. And I did talk to Ruben about it. And Ruben never once said just ignore them. Ever did he say that. When Eric Love is calling Dr. Michael Brown's radio show using burner numbers over and over and over again, when Dr. Brown himself texts me and says, I'm concerned for the safety of you and your family because of this guy, when they're going out to places where I live, where they're going out to places where I preach to do whatever, that's not normal behavior. And telling me that I'm not allowed to talk about it is wrong. You need to be aware of guys like this. I said in the last video I made, if you have children, you need to stay far, and I say this to you whether you like me or not, because part of my job, what God's going to do is to protect children. If you have children, if you have a wife, and believe me, I'm telling you this right now, you work with any of these guys, and not just them, but anybody that does stuff like this, eventually they will turn against you too. And when they do, everything that you've said about to them, they are going to use it against you. And they're going to twist it and distort, especially a guy like JT who's been convicted already of simulation, which means he's really good at forgery. He's been convicted. He has a history of it. Just because he's not counterfeiting jewelry or money anymore doesn't mean that he's still not a counterfeiter. That's not his past. That's still his present. Everything he does is fraud and fake. And by his own standards, he made a video saying that because I was arrested for it, not convicted, then that must mean that I'm a fraud. Well, you've actually been convicted of it. So you are a fraud. And yet there are people that believe him. There are people that will, again, I know he's watching, and I know tomorrow there's going to be a 500 post, and I don't care. I don't want to see it. And that goes for anybody. Because I would have never known it if I wasn't told about it. That's how little impact it has. But then when I see him post, so my point in this, and I didn't want to make this video about them. I wanted this to be a learning tool for others, other Christians and street preachers out there who we preach an event, and typically we go home. Typically, but not always. We have real people out there that are dealing with horrible things that have happened to them in their lives. You can't just say to somebody, get over it. You can't tell somebody that, well, you don't have any faith in God if you're not over it. Now, me personally, I am over it because God delivered me from it. But just because I got upset or get upset when somebody uses it as a weapon or things that... So let me explain to you and show you what happens in somebody's mind when you see that. So when I see that, when I see somebody doing that, it's not me per se, and I'm trying to word this in a way to make you understand it. It's not me that I'm worried about. It's somebody, I'm trying to find the right word to say this here. It's like attacking a child. When I see somebody talking about child sexual abuse, whether it's about me or anybody else, and using it in a way to attack, I see it as an attack on that child. When somebody laughs about it, I see that as laughing at a child who's being sexually abused. Now, I know there's going to be people that say, well, you're just wrong for that. Well, unless you've been through it, you can't really say that. So it's almost like outside myself seeing, people attacking a kid for being abused. And then, of course, me being abused myself, it reminds you of that cycle of being abused, saying it's your fault you got abused. And like people say all the time, oh, Rich, they're going after you. It's your fault you're talking about it. So it's my fault that they're abusing me spiritually, whatever. It's my fault. And then I'm supposed to not talk about it. Do you not see the harm in doing that to somebody? And I'm not saying people do it out of malice. There's some people that genuinely do care, that don't want to see me being angry about this. And it's not because they don't say I have a right to be angry. They're just like, hey, brother, what you're doing is more, and they're right. So I took this as an opportunity to present to you as a Christian, as a brother, and as, sisters, so that we can all learn together how to handle, because again, I can't even give you a blanket answer of how to deal with somebody in that situation, because every person is unique. Every person is different. But we can't just go with the whole, well, you don't have faith in God type thing. You could say that to a Christian who's been a Christian for a long time, who maybe struck, but even then though, you could be very careful about saying that, because you could be inadvertently and mistakenly re-victimizing somebody. And, again, I understand the nature of the street preacher world, and this is this isn't against anyone in particular at all. This is just general. We need to get better, and myself included, need to get better at dealing with people. Because I can rebuke a pride event with the best of them. I can rebuke an abortion clinic, and most of us are good at that. Most of us have gotten really good at that. And everything that people do when they're out there is absolutely 100% biblically correct and right. I am in no way, shape, or form criticizing any preacher for doing that stuff, because they need to do that. We all need to do that. And I'm not even criticizing, I'm encouraging that we as street preachers go beyond being just street preachers. And we start being preachers and ministers of the gospel. Because we have to do all of it. And we have to learn, and again, I am including myself in this. We need to learn how to deal with people. Especially in the current climate that we're in now, because there are a lot of people out there, and a lot of people being hurt. I can't even tell you the messages I get every day, not just because this, just in general. Every day from people who have been abused. Children and adults. There are adults that get abused too, believe it or not. There are people that are abused in their churches, and they're afraid to speak out. Case in point, look at the guy in Virginia, that pastor in Virginia. He's a sexual predator who went to have sex with a teenage girl. He drove 2 hours out of his way to meet this girl, to have sex with her. Every man that was caught that sting has been convicted except for him, because he's a mega pastor. Can't remember his name. He got away with it. And then the brothers that stood out against him got arrested for standing against him. He pressed charges. Now, it was subsequently dismissed, but he got away with it. He went to go meet a girl for sex, underage, and got away with it. Because he's a mega pastor. He's a Christian. What do you think young girls who have been used as prostitutes, who've been trafficked, and yes, there are 16, 17-year-old girls that are being trafficked in America right now, in your city right now. Every city in America has this happen. Every single one has this happening. What do you think girls like that think when they see a guy like that get away with it? Well, what's the point, right? They're just going to get away with it anyway. John Blanchard, right. He got away with it. And every single traffic girl is being put up in hotel rooms to have men come and sleep with them are going to see that and realize, what's the point? They're just going to get away with it. And then that girl one day might become a Christian. And what are you going to do? Tell her, well, we'll pray for you, sister, because you don't know what you're doing? And I'm not saying that as a criticism per se. I'm saying that to help, because we all have to be better at dealing with actual people. Because people are hurting in this world right now. Believe it or not, Christian, there are a lot of people hurting for different reasons all over the place. And this is not something I ever thought I would go into like this, ever. Never in a million years did I think that I'd be using this platform for this stuff. But when I look around and I realize we really do need to interact with people better. And again, I get it. There's a lot of people out there that think that just because I've been open air preaching for 6 years, I don't know what I'm talking about. Everybody's had to deal with everybody, right? Everybody's perfect. Everybody does whatever. And maybe you are good at it. And if you are, God bless you, this isn't for you. But if you think for 1 second that you got all the answers for every problem that everybody's going to deal with, you're deluding yourself, because you don't. I don't. Nobody does. We have to rely on the Holy Ghost to tell us how to do it. But we can't be so prideful and narcissistic in our own abilities to think that, well, I'm Christian, I got it all covered. That I know what to do and what to say in every situation. Because we don't. None of us do. We literally need God to say, okay, Lord, what do I do to help this person? Somebody who's genuinely needing help. And I have to be better with this too. Because again, while I can help in certain situations, I can't help at all, because sometimes I don't know what to do either. I'm not qualified. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm not going to pretend like I am, because I'm not. And I'm aware of my limitations. But because I genuinely want to see people help, not just pop and say, hey guys, I helped this person, that sometimes you have to go to somebody else and say, hey, this person needs your help. Can you help them? Spend time with them. People are hurt. I mean, you see a lot of public stuff that I do here as far as preaching goes. Events, pride events, especially now the Christmas dragster is coming up. We're going to be preaching, hopefully, a lot of that stuff. People need help. They genuinely need help, and some people don't know where to go. And they're looking for answers. They're looking for help. And yes, we preach with people. We preach for them. We love people, and we don't want to see people hurting. But we have to realize that sometimes, and I get it, we're all Christians, right? We're all amazing preachers. But we need to know in ourselves too that we don't have all the answers sometimes. And it doesn't make you less of a Christian either to admit that. It doesn't make you any less of a person to admit that maybe you don't have all the answers to help people. It's okay to admit that. So I didn't do this video in a way to try to disrespect anybody, because I understand most of us Christians out there, most preachers out there do have a heart for the Lord, and they do have a heart for people. Most of us do. Most people that want to help, they do so because they genuinely do want to help, and they genuinely do care about people. Most of us do. Every one of us that preaches out there, I believe most of us, 99% of us that do this, do care about people. We've just got to get better at dealing with people and their issues, and understanding that, we don't have all the answers for everybody sometimes. And I'm going to say something that's going to shock me right now. Even you guys saw, and again, I'm going to put a lot of this to bed as of right now. A lot of all that's happened in the past. Even with the stuff with John Williams and that stuff, I don't, obviously I don't agree with what happened, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he believes what he believes, and I think he genuinely does want to help people. That makes sense. I think most guys out there do, but and I'm just saying that because it's a good example to show that even in this, I don't think people are necessarily out there because they want to do bad things or hurt people. I think that most of us, even if we make a mistake, myself included, it's because we want to help people. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to admit sometimes I'm wrong. You know, when it comes to child abuse, even outside of myself, I tend to be very passionate about that. Very passionate. Shadow, please email me. Again, this is like here. This is not something we can do on a YouTube chat. This is something that when you're dealing with issues like that, we need to talk one-on-one, real people, voices, and it's something I learned today after talking with Adam Bishop today. One of the things I learned is that, especially when it comes to my brothers, instead of arguing and fighting online, pick up the phone and call each other. Because a lot of things do get lost in translation and in context. And I called Adam and I apologized to him for my, because again, I should have called him. Because when you're typing something out to somebody, you can't see or hear what they're trying to say. You're only reading on a screen. But he's a good brother who I respect immensely. But again, when you're dealing with things like this, sometimes you have to, it's hard to, you can't think objectively when you're the one in the situation. And that's what we need to understand even ourselves when we are dealing with things, we are not looking at it objectively. Even though, yes, I'm a Christian, I love the Lord, but I admit there's times when I pray, especially when I'm the object of this, am I hearing from God or am I hearing what I want to do? And that's we have people like Adam and, Jim Gillis and David Grisham. And I had Ruben to call and talk to so that I could get clarity in these things. Because when you're the subject of it, you can't think of, you can't think about it objectively. You do need help from that's what we're here for, right? We're supposed to uplift each other, bear each other's burdens. And I myself am guilty of not always doing that either. There are times that I don't want to deal with people because I just don't want to. There are times I say, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with this person. I don't want to talk to this person. And I shouldn't be like that, because as I need to be there for every one of my brothers and sisters, except for 3:00 in the morning, of course. But I need to be there for every one of them. How can I call myself a minister or a Christian or a preacher if I can't be bothered with those who really genuinely need help because I just don't feel like I'm in the mood to do it? So even I need to do better on that. Does that mean I'm not a Christian? Of course not. I'm a human being. So, we all are. But if I make a mistake, I will say it. By no means do I think that I am the epitome of street preachers. Do I think I'm the cream of the crop when it comes to preachers? Believe me, I know there are a lot of people out there that are better than me. A lot. But I'm good at what I do when it comes to the kid stuff and the trafficking and all that stuff. God has really taught me how to do that, and I'm going to get even better at it with the group that I'm working with now. And I don't know, maybe God brought this up now so that we can deal with this and get it done and over with so that I can focus more going forward because, I'm not at liberty to talk about it. Maybe he did do this. Number one is to show me and maybe use me to help others learn how to deal with people, myself included, because even though they did what they did, I've learned a lot out of this myself for the past 2 days, and I've learned that, again, while a lot of us, again, I'm including myself in this, have a desire to help people, we don't always necessarily do the things that need to be done because we so desperately want to help people sometimes that sometimes we're afraid to admit that I'm out of my league here. I'm out of depth here. Believe me, there are people out there that are far worse than me. The group I'm working with, when they rescue children, victims of ritual abuse, These people are afraid of church because of what religious, and I'm talking whether it's Christian, Catholic, Satanist, they're not religious, but you know what I mean when I say that. What they've done to these people. That doesn't mean they don't have faith in God. They've been traumatized. We can't go to a person who is a victim of religious abuse and tell them, well, you just have no faith in God. Of course they don't. They're not you. They're not saved yet. They're not Christians yet. They don't understand who God is yet. You can't expect them to have faith in a God that they don't understand or believe in. That blanket answer isn't going to cut it. Especially with somebody who's been victimized like that. Okay, we have to, and look, even I have to learn how to do that because, you know, when it comes to those people in those situations, I'm not an expert at that. You want to talk about child abuse, I can help those people. But when it comes to that, I'm learning how to deal with that the right way. Through the help of my brothers and sisters who are way more experienced than me, so that I can be a better witness and a better counselor to some people. So with this video is something that I just hope we all learn from, and we look inside ourselves and we realize, you know, that we could be victimizing people without realizing it. When we tell people who are being abused, spiritually being, and it does happen, when people are being emotionally and spiritually abused, you cannot tell that person to just walk away and ignore it. Because you are going to help the abuser accomplish their goals. Okay? If you do not forgive, you not be forgiven. Blanket answer without understanding. And again, I pray that nobody who's ever been a victim of a horrible, violent crime ever goes to you and has trouble dealing with it while they see their attacker living their best life now. Because if you say that to them, and again, I get it. Well, I'm a Christian. I know what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't say blanket forgive people who don't ask for or don't want and don't care for it. Nowhere does it say that. But that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. We have to understand and deal with people. If the attacker genuinely repents and he's come to God and he asks his victim for forgiveness, I would never tell a victim, okay, just forgive him. Eventually we get there, yes, but you have to work with that victim to make them understand that this person, because they're not going to trust this person right off the bat. They don't know if it's just manipulation or not. That does happen too. The abuser manipulates the victim to gain more control over something. You know, maybe they want to get on parole, and they need a victim to give a statement. So they will say things like that just to get them to go there and say, wow, you forgive this guy. Because it looks good to a parole board, right? So we have to be very careful about how we do those things. But when somebody is being abused, you know, because we hear the word abuse and our first thing goes to somebody who's being physically abused. And yes, that's true, it's abuse. But there's emotional abuse, there's spiritual abuse. There are pastors who are experts at spiritually abusing their, you know, Jesus commands forgiveness, not an option for salvation. Whatever. Again, everybody's an expert. Everybody thinks they're a Bible scholar because they hear something. No. Does God forgive you if you don't ask for it? Does God forgive sinners who don't ask for his forgiveness? Forgive as he has forgiven you. Does God forgive without us asking for it? Or are we supposed to do things that even God himself won't do? Think about that. And again, that's what let's be honest here too, guys. In Christianity, when you say like that and you have a disagreement, that's a guy that's going to come further and further and tell you you're not saved. He's going to tell a woman who was raped, you're not saved if you don't forgive your rapist, while he's out there living his life, doesn't care about you, looks at you and laughs at you, looks at you and mocks you after he raped you, and you tell the woman she's going to go to hell because she can't forgive the guy who's abused her physically, mentally, spiritually, who's tormenting her every day, and you're going to tell that woman she's not saved? You want to talk about religious abuse? That's it in a nutshell, my friend. And I know, believe me, I've been dealing with Christians long enough to know The minute a Christian does not agree with you, it's an all-out assault on your character. It's an all-out assault on your ministry. Because again, for me, what I believe is, and I'm not saying this to you, your named son of God, don't take this as a personal thing. I'm just saying in general. God commands forgiveness. You're not God. And all caps. See, he's getting angry already. Because after all, he knows more than me and you and everybody else. And again, I just pray that no woman in that situation or male or child goes to a guy like that and says, man, Timmy, you're going to hell because you can't forgive your dad or that homosexual that raped you. You're going to hell because that guy doesn't want your forgiveness, never asked for it. I pray that those people would never go to you because you could drive those people to take their own life. You're making them a victim all over again. And again, I've been dealing with Christians long enough to know they don't care to know that fact. They think that they are the uber Christian. They got it all figured out. They know people. They know God. They know God's word better than everybody. Jesus gave the parable of the wicked. Then you know what? If you're going to believe that, then that means that everybody's going to heaven, that God forgives everybody even when they don't ask. Forgive as you're forgiven. I'm not going to argue with you. You know, we and this is an American issue, by the way. This is unique to this current climate we're in. It's why we see so much ignorance, to kind of switch gears on you guys here, about this oneness stuff. There are people who think oneness is just error. They don't understand that they're preaching a different Jesus because of the deception of, oh, we preach one Lord. He's a fake account, of course. Get rid of him because I know who it is. You know, in the early church, they wrote that says Satan will defend the truth to bring into heresy. And that's what it is. I mean, for me, you know, I take the Bible seriously. And when the Bible says that if you greet people like this, Antichrist, stuff like that, if you even greet them or welcome them in your house, you share in their wicked deeds. It's 2 John chapter 1, verse 10 and 11. I mean, we can read it, open our Bibles. That's what it says. But because we care more about our friendship sometimes than we do about this, we want to look for loopholes in these things, right? Well, I mean, does it really say, I mean, how am I going to reach them? Maybe it's not your job to reach them. Maybe by your friendship with them, you're actually keeping them from getting saved. That's why the Bible says to cast the evil man out from among you. Cast him out for the destruction of his flesh, so the soul will be saved. By you yoking up with and continuing fellowship with these people, you're not going to get them saved. 2 John. If anyone comes to you and does not bring you this teaching, you do not receive him into your house and do not give him a greeting. For the one who gives him a greeting participates in his evil deeds. And of course, the context of this is talking about, you know, who Jesus Christ is. Verse 7 says, for many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. If you believe that Jesus Christ is the Father, you believe that the Father came in the flesh, not the Son, you're denying Jesus came in the flesh. Oneness Pentecostals will say, I believe in one Lord. I believe Jesus came in the flesh. You're lying. No. They believe that the Jesus, the Son, did not exist until the incarnation. How could Jesus come in the flesh if he did not exist until the incarnation? They're deceivers. Watch yourselves, that you do not lose what we've accomplished. Anyone who goes too far and does not abide in the teaching of Christ is not of God. The one who abides in the teaching, he has both the Father and the Son. Oneness teach that the Son is the Father. He became the Son when the Father overshadowed Mary. They believe the Father overshadowed her and impregnated Mary with himself, and he was born of himself, the Father. They denied Jesus came in the flesh. They are antichrist, and the Bible says not even to greet them and don't welcome them in your house, or else you are just as evil as they are. That's Bible. How many people are actually going to do that? And it's not because you hate your oneness friends. If you actually care about them, then you would do this so that they can be saved. Get rid of them so that they can be saved. That's Bible. Rich, I understand that a friend of mine called me, and because of all the abuse, I feel like God hates me. And in the call, he told me God told him. See, so Shadow, that's wrong. You're not under a curse because you're struggling with the abuse that happened to you. You're not under a curse because of that. And again, that's the system of abuse you're talking. Oh, you're just under a curse. And Shadow, let me say this to you. Your friend is probably a narcissist. And he thinks he has all the answers. And because you're not getting better from what he's telling you, he assumes that it's your problem. Because he's the one who's, the Christian here, not you. And he's giving you advice. And he's counseling you. And he's prayed for you and prayed with you. And it doesn't seem to be working. So you're the problem. And he says, well, you must be under a curse. Because after all, his going at you like that is not your problem. It's his problem of pride. You're not under a curse. You're abused. You're dealing with the impact of the abuse. And God doesn't hate you because you were abused. You're not suffering a curse as a result of God cursing you because you're abused. What kind of God would that be? I'm telling you this. God wants to deliver you. God wants to set you free. You are not under any curse. Don't receive that for 1 second. Okay? You're dealing with the things of abuse. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Again, I don't know your situation. I don't know if it's military or the way you make it, the way it sounds like it's something that happened to you here in this world physically or mentally, what have you. But that sounds more like his issue than yours. Do not receive that. God doesn't hate you. I mean, think of what he's saying. He's telling you that, well, you're dealing with the impacts of abuse and you're not getting better, so it's just a curse, as if again, he's basically perpetuating the abuse by saying it's your fault, which makes it worse. But again, people, because we're the Christian, right? We're the ones that have all the answers. Well, it's not working, so there might be something wrong with you. That's pride. Yeah, well, and look at my post I sent on Facebook. I know that they are going to come out of the woodwork tonight. We know who they are. It is emotional and spiritual abuse from them. And Shadow, again, you do what you want, but if you ask me my opinion and my advice, that person's not your friend. Cut him off. God does not curse victims, he defends them. Thank you, Jake. You are 100% correct. I couldn't have said it any better myself. But if you look what I said, I know these monsters better than they even know themselves. I knew by doing this, what they're going to do is, what they want to do is, they are predators. They want to come on here with their fake accounts, and they want to sit there and make me out to be the bad guy while they victimize me and out there and make it look like I'm wrong for defending myself or for even getting angry for what they're doing. It's literally gaslighting. It's railing. These are not Christian people. They want you to look in the comments and say, oh my gosh, what's wrong with him? They are devils. And I knew that, and I expected it. So I hope, and my prayer is that you heard some of the things I talked about in my situation with abuse. The impact of that. I'm 47 years old. The reason I am as vehemently protective of children as I am is because of that. Because I don't want any child to go through what I went through. And when I see what these people are doing to these kids and the way they're talking to them, how they're victimizing them, that's what they're doing. And nobody protected me when I was a kid, so I'm going to protect them. It still has an impact today, but in a good way. So I hope that we all, as Christians, as preachers, can be better going, and that, myself included, when it comes to dealing with people. That we take the time to maybe educate ourselves so that we can be better ministers of the gospel to those people that are hurting, to those victims that need us. Because secular counselors aren't going to help. Counselors without Jesus Christ, without the Holy Spirit guiding them, cannot effectively help people, in my opinion. I believe that we need the guidance from the Holy Ghost, as well as education from the Holy Ghost, as well as other men and women, to be better examples and to help people. Because people that are hurting, they need Jesus. Especially when it comes to sexual abuse, the only deliverance for that is going to come, the only healing and deliverance is by Jesus Christ. But we need to know how to get them to that point, some of these victims. There's a young man I'm going to be working with very soon here who was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. The secular counselors they can't help him because they perpetuate this, well, you know, it's not your fault, but it's not your fault. If anyone's abusing you in any capacity, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, whatever, it is not your fault. You did nothing to deserve abuse from anybody. You did not. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You didn't ask for it. You don't deserve it. And the ones that tell you you do are not people that care about you. The Bible says the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Anybody that wants to see you destroyed or wants to kill you, whether it's whatever, they are devils. They are not Christians, and they are not out for your best interest. I'm blocking him, Rich. I want to come to God and get saved. Thank you for helping me understand my situation, actually caring. You're only one of 3 people that care. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I can tell you right now, there are probably plenty of people here with us tonight that care. Very much so. And Shadow, I do want to talk to you. And I say this not because, I genuinely want, because to me, YouTube videos like this, it's not really a great way. I don't want to just talk here and comment when I don't know you and I can't talk to you and pray with you in person. I don't think that this is really the best way to do it in person like this. I think that stuff like this needs to be more personal. Again, that's my opinion. You can take it for what it's worth. But I'd really like to reach out to you and just talk with you, and pray with you and all that there. And, and if I lose 100 people because they don't like this, I'm okay with that. Because out of the 100 people that I lose that aren't interested in this stuff, there will be at least 2 people, statistically speaking, from my own experience and my own dealings with this kind of stuff, that will have the courage to come forward and that will get help. And for me, losing 100 people that don't care about this stuff, that think it's nothing more than drama, that's fine. I actually care to be a better witness to people. And I want to actually deal with people who are hurting. I know I'm a street preacher and, I'm out there and I can rebuke them like the best of them. But that's only a part of me and my ministry. It's only a very small part. Because when I rebuke them, the point of rebuking somebody is to let them know what they're doing is wrong, and the solution to their problem is Jesus Christ. They're doing what they're doing because they don't have Jesus. So the rebuke is supposed to make them understand what they're doing is wrong and why it's wrong and how God sees it. But that's a part of what we do, not all of what we do. And I want to make sure that, I would rather lose 500 street preaching friends, although there probably isn't 500 street preachers out there anymore. But I'd rather lose 500 street preacher friends than let one person suffer abuse from another person. I would rather take that one person and spend the rest of not the rest of my life, obviously. At some point, people, but they're gonna, they got to get it together. And again, I'm not saying that in a way to hurry up and get better. The Holy Ghost will lead you when that comes. There's some people that will take advantage of that too, And again, I'm not saying this about anybody personally. When people realize they have you, even though they're victims, remember, they could wind up sucking the life out of you. Some, not all. And you have to be aware of people like that as well. It goes both ways sometimes. There are people that want to be perpetual victims. And they don't really want deliverance. They don't really want healing because they like the attention they get from being a victim. So you have to be aware of those kinds too. It doesn't mitigate it doesn't mitigate their you see, look, fake accounts. We know who that is. That's a predator. Okay. John Euler, counselor, even said people that do what that corner lawn care, which is a fake profile, are doing is a predator. Understand this, Christian. People that try to hijack your stream are predators. They want to make it about themselves. They want to detract away from the person, whatever. They are predators. Make no mistake about it. That's coming from a counselor, a licensed professional Christian counselor who worked with predators, who worked with sex offenders for 10 years in the prison system. He did an entire video on red flags of a predator. And he said the guys that are doing this are predators. They want to make it about themselves. Don't go listen to this guy. Listen to me. Listen, they are predators. And that's what I want to do. I want to use platforms like that to teach other Christians, to help other Christians, to show you predation, to have us all be better witnesses. But again, I told you in the beginning when he started this guy, I told you what was going to happen. That he was going to get triggered. That he was going, I'm right, you're wrong. It's pride. It's narcissism. They foam at them. They get so angry that next thing you know, bam, this guy this guy that. They are devils. Would you really want to take counseling or advice from somebody who if you disagree with them, automatically going to cast you into hell? Would you really send, God forbid, a family member or somebody you care about who was sexually assaulted, let's just say, a woman, given the example I gave earlier, to a guy that says, forgive your rapist, you're going to hell? Would you really want to send somebody to that guy for help? Let's be honest with ourselves. Is that the kind of God we serve? I don't think so. Jake said it best here. God defends victims. He doesn't curse them. So I really pray and hope that you guys got something out of this. And look, if you're watching this, I get it. I know, like Ruben used to say all the time, we're dealing with Christians. And Christians don't like to do things beyond what they already know. I ask a question all the time and I say, are you willing to change your mind if the Bible says something I'll change. I've been trying to mess with the settings on the screen that comes up on the chat there, but there's like 30 different settings, and it takes and the only way I can actually see it is when it's live. So I literally have to do like a live video where I could take 10 minutes and mess with it to get it to the right color, because I can't see it until it's live. So yes, I am very well aware of that. And I do need to somehow fix that. So yes, thank you for pointing that out again. I appreciate that, because you're right. Because I could see it clear as mine, because I'm looking at a big computer screen. So I could see it here, and I could see it off to the side. So thank you for pointing that out. But I really hope you guys have got something out of this. And as for me, this chapter is now closed, because for me, I believe this was a lesson that I needed to learn and share and help others. And and it was advised to me to take legal recourse in whatever capacity I can. And that's what I'm going to pursue. There are dozens of people that are willing to help me with this, from journalists to lawyers. And I'm just going to leave it at that. They can't, there's nothing to forgive me for. I haven't done anything to them. That's the thing. They keep saying, forgive, but I did nothing. I didn't do anything. They'll say, oh, Rich is slandering me. No, I'm not. Every single thing that I have said, I have backed up 100. And again, I don't share out of context clips. I don't lie about people like they lie. Literally lie about me. And look, I expect to be lied about. That's one thing. I expect people to lie about me. Jesus had it. But when you're talking to people that are contacting family members, messaging family members, look, JT contacted Fox News to try to get them to do a story about him. Really? Because he's a predator. He wants it all about being him. And then he defends. Every time he gets caught doing something, he goes over the top to defend himself, to try, Every time I've always showed it. Every single time. And anybody I talk to, I am more than happy. Here you go. I'll show it to you. Bam, no problem. Always. So there's nothing for them to forgive me for. They're doing that. Oh, we forgive him. No, you're doing it to virtue signal to convince people that you're a humble. You're not. But social media, people are, and I say this, stupid. They believe everything they see and hear. And I find it more funny that trolls will often say, and again, I'm talking generally, will often say, well, you need to hear both sides of the story. While they slander somebody like me, I will always tell you, ask them. You want to hear, go ask them. But you'll never hear them tell their people, when they say something about me, you'll never hear them say, go talk to Rich yourself. They'll tell you if I say something to get their side of it, but they'll never tell their people to get my side of it, ever. They will never encourage them to reach out to me to hear my side, ever. That should be a red flag for everybody. But again, we're dealing with Christians, and everybody thinks they've got it all figured out. Everybody thinks that they're the supreme Christian, that they've, and you can, you can't do anything wrong. But think about that. You need to hear, but when I say something, you need to hear both sides of the story. But when they say it, they don't encourage anybody to get my side of the story, ever. Because, you know why? Because when people do hear my side of it, they tend not to like those guys anymore. Correct. They don't forgive anybody. You're right. They always want everybody else to repent. And this is a Pharisaical trait in every Pharisee. They want you to repent, but they never need to repent of anything ever. That's another red. Maybe we should, you know what? I should go back and look for that video, Red Flags or Predator. It's a couple years old, and replay it, because he did a couple of videos. It's a really good series. I think I still have it somewhere, and upload in this channel here. And I need to get back to that. So for me, I learned from this. I was able to use it to help you watching this, if you received it. And I think that what the Lord needed me to do in this situation is now done. You know, Brother Adam told me today that nobody who actually matters cares about these guys. And he's exactly right. And I don't particularly care about them either. And I know that people that know me know, and all are full of it. But I want you to show that it's okay when somebody is abusing you and they bring up things like that. I want you to see there are literal evil monsters out there. Predators out there who will prey on you, me, whoever. They find something about you that they know they can weaponize against you to hurt you. They will use it, and then they will defend and justify it because they're evil men and women. Every single person I know that's been through abuse has called me, texted me, and messaged me and said, Rich, I am sorry. Now, they don't need to apologize. They didn't do anything, but they feel bad because they know what it's like. They know what it's like. And again, I understand not every brother or sister out there is going to get it. But I would ask you guys, some of you will follow me, give me a little grace here with this situation, with these guys, and all of it. If anybody else does it, give me a little grace. Why do people that say they love me as a brother, and again, I'm speaking generally, of course, you know, always talk about grace and mercy to the sinner, but they can't show that same grace and mercy to their brethren. Instead, it's just separate. Why do we treat the heathen better than we treat our own brothers and sisters? You know, because I looked at it and I said this to somebody today. It's almost like when wolves are devouring you and you limp back, bloodied up and beaten and chunks of flesh taken out, and the people are going, man, that really sucked to watch. You know, that's what it feels like sometimes. That you're out there, the wolves are trying to devour you, they're trying to eat you, they're trying to destroy you. And your friends are watching it happen and not jumping in to help. Now again, maybe that's just the way I'm perceiving it, but that's what it seems like to me. You know, and if it seems that way to me, maybe even when I do it to others like that, if I see it and I don't want to, oh my gosh, because what they're gonna do to me. Maybe I should be more involved sometimes too with other people. I'm not immune to my own criticism, by the way. So please don't take that as I am. I'm not. But if a brother or sister feels like that they're out there alone, something's wrong somewhere. And if that brother or sister feels that way, and maybe it's on them, then we need to, and that includes myself. What's going on? You know, and I do, Sheila, I agree. I think I'm on a different path now. In conjunction with. And I felt this way for a couple of weeks now, that there's something else coming, because whenever attacks like this come, it's usually because God has something else ready to go. And again, I don't know necessarily what that is. You know, I haven't been given some like, oh my gosh, God told me this thing with this. I haven't gotten that yet. But I do agree, there does feel like there's something else that God has. And I do believe part of it is, you know, I am actually getting ready to go out and physically rescue children. Like, not just talking about it and working behind the scenes with lawmakers and other people. I'm actually getting trained up and ready to go out and actually physically get some of these kids and rescue them. Unfortunately, that is stuff I will not be able to video at all for obvious reasons. The guys that do it, you know, you see like some of them will live catch. This is not that. This isn't, you know, meeting predators online and going to meet them in a public park and setting them up to go on camera. This isn't that. This is people that are abused physically, that are already being abused, that we're going to snatch out of where they're being abused from. So for obvious reasons, I cannot videotape that. There are 2 other people that want to get involved in this that I was told about, you know, in other states. And I think that's great. And I think it's wonderful. But that's the next step for me. Doing that stuff. Because I want to do it. And I'm going to ask you in this part here to pray for me for that, because that is a very dangerous thing to do. But that is the next step for me. Right, one of those guys who meets up with those predators got killed recently. Yeah, and that's a risk. You're talking about going into these houses where they do this and trying to get them out. And I can't give any tips away. I can't say how it's done, because then you obviously put a lot of people in jeopardy. But that's the next step for me in this. And this, to me, was a lesson that I needed to learn with this. Because in this situation, well, yes, I had every right to defend myself. I have every right to be angry about it. I did not have the right to be angry at those people that I do know are my brothers that do care. And I have apologized to them if I did that, you know, and I didn't make just some people have understood better now as to why some people that this happened to do the things they do. But I would ask my brothers, my sisters, if you're willing to give grace and mercy to a homosexual and abortionist, I would ask you, while I'm navigating this, to show me as your brother a little bit of mercy and a little bit of grace as well. And if you don't want to, I understand. What I'm doing here right now is very different than everything Ruben did in this channel. Everything that he did. But when Ruben passed away, I did believe we're in a new season. And as I said, many people have told me, Rich, Ruben is not here anymore in the beginning of this, because I really wanted to carry on and do the exact same thing. But it's been pointed out by many brothers and sisters who I trust, and Ruben is not here anymore. He's not here. And while we want to preserve his legacy and his teaching, we need to take that into what we are doing. And if you don't want to be along for this, I appreciate you anyway. But what's going to be happening in the next few years in this country and in this world is going to be something that we've never seen before. Or, let me rephrase, it's going to be worse than anything we've ever seen before. When I started open air preaching, I started with the drag queen story or stuff. That was my very first preach. And that was 5-6 years ago. And it was horrible then, but they literally were just reading stories. Granted, they were horrible stories about being gay and transgender to children, but they weren't doing what they're doing now. And in 5 years, It went from just reading books about being, my name is Jazz, whatever that book is called, to now they're full on sexually abusing children right in front of our eyes. And it's because the church has been so silent about this stuff, because they've said that it's a horrible thing. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to see it. I don't want to see it. It's horrible. It's horrible. But it's happening, whether we want to see it or not. The ugliness of it is happening. And we cannot turn a blind eye to it, because all those people that are being hurt because we don't want to talk about it, because we don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Nobody wants to see it. But there are lives at stake, not just spiritually and eternal, in their eternal destiny. Their physical safety, their physical lives are also at stake right now. And we need to be there for them. All of us. And what I'm about to say next is something I know most people don't like, but I have to do it anyway, because I would be remiss if I didn't. And again, I don't care anymore. I'm getting to. I used to not say things because of what people say about me, right? Like, let's take this Frank Long guy. I've met the guy once. He's a oneness guy. He's triggered because of oneness stuff. This guy literally says, oh, look at that. The Words for Christ channel is gone, and now he's using Uber channel, money, money, money. Dumbest thing ever, because if I wanted to make money, why would I give up before they took it down, the Words for Christ channel, and focus on this one? Ruben's people in this channel are not used to donating to Christians like this. Trust me. Since I've taken this over, the people that donate, that would help, it's gone down a lot. And that's okay. You notice that's why I haven't been traveling as much, because it's not as much money that came in the other channel. So if anybody say that this is money, I gave up a 500,000 subscriber channel. Now YouTube did take it over. Unfortunately, they took it down when this new kid in Oklahoma, I gave it to him. I gave it up. And if you think there's more money on a channel that has 18,000 versus 500,000, you're an idiot. And nothing I do is for money. And I know that, because it's the easy thing to attack somebody with. They're doing it for money. But at the point there, I've always went out of my way to say, I'm not doing it for money. I've never done a teaching on giving. I've always at the end of my videos asked for giving. Sure. I've never once done a teaching, because I've done it to avoid the criticism. But you know what? I don't care anymore. After what they did to me with this sexual abuse thing coming at me, there is nothing that they could say or do anymore. Nothing. My wife and I were just talking. We were talking to other brothers too. My family has lost everything doing this ministry. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And I can't even express it. We have lost everything. Okay? I even got an email from some homo the other day literally listing all the things that were taken away from me. That's supposed to happen. But what's supposed to happen is the church is supposed to help when that happens, so that we can continue doing it without worrying about that stuff. And that's the part that doesn't happen. And that's the truth. And again, if I did a whole video on giving and why it should be done, I will lose probably within a day 200 subscribers. I guarantee it. Because even the Bible does command us to give, especially to people that do what I do. And I'm not saying that to whatever, but that's the truth. People that lose everything because of ministry, the church is supposed to pick up the slack. The guys that criticize me for saying that are ones that have never lost anything for Christ. And I'm learning that the critics are the ones that have never had to lose or give up anything for Christ. And then they want to gaslight you for literally saying, hey, I need help. And think about it. And this is the truth. And I'm going to say something that's going to blow your mind. Because I've been so concerned with these guys saying that I'm doing this for money, I have avoided things and put myself in situations because I didn't want to give them any more ammunition. And I let them abuse me in that regard. Because we asked for offerings for, but what about other things? I mean, I don't have an eBay account anymore. I used to make money that way. It's gone. I lost all that. What am I supposed to do? And I've avoided saying, oh, we need help with that stuff because we lost that because of what those guys will say. I let them influence me that way, and that was wrong on my part. And I just don't care anymore. After this, honestly, what could they possibly say about me anymore? What could they, after that, it doesn't matter. Anybody that does not see them for the monsters they are deserves it, and I could care less with. And this is one of the lessons God showed me. It doesn't matter. Look how bad and evil these people are, that they're willing to go to those depths and that depravity to attack you. And anybody who wants to even bother with them is probably not somebody I want to be bothered with either. But we've literally lost everything. I can't tell you how many times that my wife and I have sat here going, what are we going to do to pay this next bill? Because we're paying $130 a month to host a website. We're paying $50 a month for the streaming software. We're paying $100 a month for the internet bill. We're paying X amount of dollars for Airbnbs. Well, when I had the account, we're paying X amount of dollars for gas. We're paying X amount of dollars for this. We're paying for this. We're paying for this. And if you don't believe me and you want proof, ask Angie and Greg in Florida. Ask them. We just got that. I'll let them tell you. No, I'll say it here in this instance because I don't care anymore. $1,000 computer for software to make shirts for everybody. $150 for a new heat press to make shirts for everybody. Survivors of this kind of psychological coping abuse are not alone. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that. But sometimes it does feel like we're alone because in the world we live in with Christians, and I'm not saying to do it on purpose, but we don't know how to handle it. Look at that. The live comments and the talk about giving dropped by 6. Isn't that amazing? 6 got off. But okay. It costs me thousands of dollars a month to do the ministry we do. And if you think I get $1,000 coming in, you have no idea. I just paid out of my own pocket over $2,000 for the new official street preachers. And some might think that's a waste of money. It's not when you look at what we're doing. We're trying to create a platform that we can go outside of social media to bring you information, current events that are going on that you should be aware of, and a way to give you notifications and a way to talk to you, because I can't talk to you about some stuff publicly. Like, for instance, there's something that's coming up at the end of this month that we're going to need people to do, but I can't tell you publicly what it is. So how do I get that information out to a group of people without tipping our hand to the enemy of what we're going to do? Well, I need to have something where I can get people there to tell them. That's what the websites are for. Anybody who says it's a waste of money doesn't understand the nature of being shadow banned, censored, everything else. So again, when you look at it from that point of view, and like Robbie said here, psychologically crippling abuse. I've let these people cripple me by personally. I've only asked for personal things twice in 5 years personally, for me and my family. But I'm going to tell you this right now: we do struggle financially sometimes because there's not enough money, and we always put in ministry thinking, you know what, people will give. We can put it here, it'll come back to us later. People will give as we're doing this stuff because they'll see it. Unfortunately, I was very wrong about that. There are some people that give, absolutely. They do help what they can. So, for example, let me tell you this, the website. We want to do a thing where I found a place where we can do text messages, blasts. Let people know to get the word out there when things happen or events. And let you know, hey, guys, come look at this. We got this. It's $60 a month. I can't afford another $60 a month bill. Then there's another one. It's another I can't afford these $6 a month. I can't afford it. There's so much we can do. I just don't have the money to do it. And I've only asked for limited things because of it. But we as Christians, and if anyone wants to attack me for this, go right ahead. Because I've learned that the people that attack you for are ones that have never lost anything. We have lost, and my wife, she can come in right now, we have lost just about everything. You don't understand what we've lost. We've told you a little bit, but the financial situation of losing it because of ministry. is dire for us. We scrape by my kid, I have 6 kids. My son wanted to do something today and we couldn't do it. Yesterday. We couldn't do it. Number one is we got this new car that some of you guys helped for, and I appreciate that very much. No, that one helped. Because our last car, people didn't come into my house. You look at it. That car, what they did to it is still sitting out there. You could see. Has an exhaust manifold leak. Now it's covered in a warranty. It will be fixed. It's not going to cost any money. But there's issues there. But my son wanted to go out and do something, and we couldn't do it because we don't have the money because, well, we have to pay a food bill. And I'm not saying we need help with that because, well, obviously we don't need to take our kids out to this to pay for food. That's kind of silly to ask for that, for luxury things. But there are things that we as a family do need as Christians. And it is true. We've lost it. You guys have seen it. It's in the news. And I've always held back asking for help personally because of how it's going to look to other people. But then I look at it, and I was talking to somebody today, I'm like, wait a second. Who else is out there, at least the people that in our circle have lost the things that I've lost? How many people watching this video right now have lost Airbnb, eBay? Even my wife, she can't even do the things that she did anymore because a lesbian found out who she was and got her canceled. Not canceled, sorry. My mother had cancer, so that's still in my brain. She can't even do that anymore. When we go out somewhere, if we go out anywhere, sometime, at least in Tennessee it was bad. It's not so much as bad here. It's not as bad here. They recognize us. I mean, we went to Dunkin' Donuts to get coffee. We pulled it out. They're taking a picture. I mean, this is the cost. And again, I'm not going to stop doing it. But my experience has always been, and I truly believe that Christians would step up to help us when we lose these things. And I assumed that by putting out there we've lost, that people would kind of get the hint without asking for it, but I was wrong. I mean, to date, over 40, what the heck is that? I just saw a little thumb come up on the screen. What was that? I'd never seen that before. What the heck was that? To date, we have lost, actually, Amanda, if you're watching, hold on, let me get her for a second. I want to ask her because she probably knows better than me how much per month we've lost in income. I actually had somebody tell me, and Brother Terry got mad about this, said that VA benefits are welfare. That VA disability is I actually had a Christian say that VA benefits are welfare. I forgot to tell Adam and Jim that one. Yeah, Alan Puckett says that VA benefits are welfare. Welfare, really? Disabled veterans get welfare? Is that how it is? I don't see it that way, but maybe that's just me. But we've lost, I used to make $200,000 a year. I'll just tell you. I made $200,000 a year doing what I did before I got hurt, which is not anything to do with Christianity. I got hurt, neck injury, and that crippled me for what I was doing there. Directly, it's officialstreetpreachers.com/give or Zelle. It's all at the bottom of the screen here. It's in the description if you want to help. But we've lost. Let me get her again. How much money would you say that we've lost income-wise from doing ministry stuff? If you had to take a wild guess.
Your entire,
well, but how much would you say if you had to guess per month? I'm talking about it now because I said I've never talked about us personally, what we need for ministry when I'm like, but that's stupid because I've lost everything because of ministry. So why have I never asked for it? I care about what Eric Love and JT are going to say about me. What could they possibly say after what they just said? and they're helping LGBT people. They're LGBT activists. What can they possibly do? If you had to guess.
That you climb cell phone towers?
No, not that. I'm talking about money. Would you get a couple $1,000s a month easily? 2 to 3 thousand. I mean, I was thinking 2 to 3, but I figured maybe you knew better than me.
That's not including that entire settlement check that went right back in.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that. You're right. I forgot about that too. But if I said that actually it doesn't matter what they say. Because we have plenty, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Good point. I forgot about that. Good point. And actually, I have that check somewhere. Let me see if I can find it and show you guys. So when I got hurt in my neck, I got hit by a car. I got a settlement of $1.25 million. Now, you guys are going, whoa. Just remember, that was a settlement. That's not what I got. 33 1/3 went to the lawyer, plus his fees. Plus, prior to that, because the case took 2 years while I was going through the lawsuit and surgeries, and then I had to pay all my medical bills. That was almost $500,000 in and of itself. I even think more. I don't have the breakdown anymore. And then I had to pay. I took a loan out to live off of for over a year in New Jersey, so I had to pay that back. So I wound up with a whopping $250,000. Now again, that's a lot of money. Well, no, not in this climate. And I want to explain to you what I did with it. I'm going to give an account for it here. Here's what I did with that money. And you can verify. You can ask the guys in Mississippi, Michael Strait, Joe Nicosia. You can ask every one of those guys that was there. I literally took that money and I put it all into ministry. I didn't even buy a house, which was really stupid of me, by the way, not to do that because I wasn't thinking about that. Again, my thinking was, let's do this and go out there. If you notice, for a year straight, I was traveling with a group of people every month, sometimes twice a month, to drag queen story hours all over this country. And I paid for everything for everybody. I paid for plane tickets. I paid for hotel rooms. I paid for rental cars. I paid for cell phones. I paid for no bullhorns. I paid for jackets. And I'm not bragging, but I paid for everything because I said, I have the money. I can do it. And this is what it should be used for. And you can verify that with all of those guys. Every one of them, they will verify and back up everything that I just said. I would never put their names out there if it wasn't true. Because our hope was we do this, I said to my wife, we'll be okay. Because we're going into ministry with this. The Christians are going to see, and they're going to be like, yo, we're going to give to this ministry because they're helping. Now, we didn't do it for money. Obviously, we put out $250,000 to do this stuff. Thinking that the church would step up if we did this, and it didn't, and that didn't happen. And I'm not blaming anybody because part of it's my fault because I never asked for it at that time. Because I didn't want the perception to be that it's about money. But if we're okay with pastors asking for money in a church, why is it wrong for me to ask for it to help me and my family cover our expenses? There's a verse in the Bible somebody shared with me, literally that says our expenses should be covered by the church. And you're right. Their pastor said they're not allowed to travel with me anymore, and that's when it stopped. But you can ask every one of these guys. And you can go back. Those of you ask Ryan and Kelly Chapman. Other people that got, Dr. Michael Brown, we gave him, and I'm not going to say what amount we gave him a lot. Because I love Dr. Brown. I support his ministry in every way, shape I can because I believe he's a brother in Christ, and I believe that what he's doing is amazing. He's a part of the body. And I really love that brother. And I wanted to help him, and I had the means to, so I did. Now, I did buy my wife a nice ring. I bought my wife a ring that I couldn't get her when we got married because, again, at the time I had the money. So I gave her a ring for her. And I bought myself a TV, which I still have, by the way. That's what we got out of it. The rest of it went into ministry. But believe it or not, as Christians, as street preachers, David Grisham, too, is another one. He should be supported as well. That guy's out traveling more than anybody. He's traveling more than me. 90% of what he goes, I go with him, but there's that 10% he does by himself. Where do you think this money, and people say all the time, we're doing for money. Where do you think the money comes from to get the gas, the hotel rooms, the Airbnbs? We literally traveled up to St. Con. We drove from Texas to New Jersey to Boston to New Hampshire, to Maine, to Vermont. Remember, we preached that whole area for a week straight. Preached all those states up and all the way what we could down. When we went to Brother Jed, we preached, where did we go? We preached North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. Where do people think that money comes from? Does it make it rain? Do people think that people give me millions of dollars? People do contribute to it, but overall, most of the money, believe it or not, comes from our own pocket. Do you have any idea how much money it cost to drive up to the country and stop and preach stop all these hotels? Do you know how much money that cost us? Thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. And it's all ministry. Now, again, I'm not on here going, oh, look at Rich begging for money, ha ha. No. And if you want to say that, I could care less. It's fine. You do what you want and think what you want. But we are actually out there preaching. We are rescuing children. Go take a look. Baldwinsville, Oklahoma. Sheila was there. Mark was there. Betsy was there. Amanda was out there. Who else was out there? Kaylee was out there. Ed was out there. There was no drag queen, and that's because of what we did out there. Me, Jim, and Dave. No drag show for kids. Canceled. That's just this year alone. Last year, we were the ones that literally exposed the Christmas drag show, what they were doing in the show. We exposed that. Now, I know Rich is bragging because they always want to find something. And again, if you want to say that, be my guest. I'm done worrying about what you're going to say and think about me. Anybody at this point. I know now who my friends are and who they aren't. And I didn't plan on doing this at all. I planned on doing the abuse stuff and then stopping there. But just something in me is telling me to do this because we are. My family and I we're struggling. Again, we're not rich. Our rent is paid. There's food on the table. Yes. My internet bill is paid. Sure. Cell phone bill paid. But my server cost is due right now. I don't have the extra $130. I have to choose to either pay that now or put, food, and of course, the stuff for my kids comes first. And I'll pay, I hopefully put it off until whatever. But I'm just giving examples of the cost of ministry. And it's not because, well, whatever. It's because we've lost so much doing this, and we expect it. We absolutely expect it to happen. We did not do this going in this to get rich. We knew it wasn't going to happen because I don't preach love, 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 live your best life now, blah. I expected to lose some stuff, but I did not expect to lose everything. And look, I'll read this email to you again. Let me open my email again. So you can understand. There's an active campaign to stop me from doing everything that I do. I got your email, Shadow. I just saw it here. When we're done, I'll reply back to you. And by the way, that's how I know fake's from real, because fake account, when they come on and say stuff, that's why it was just email. The fake ones never email me. So that's how I can tell a fake account from real account. Where is it? Okay. Nope, that's not it. Okay. Oh, here it is. Hey, Ricky. I just saw YouTube banned your account. 500,000 subscribers. Poof, gone. I wonder how that happened. What a shame. I assume your other 2 channels will be deleted soon as well. You can always just use Rumble with your whopping 250 followers. That'll really get the message out. First it was Teespring, then Cash App, then Facebook a few times. Now a whole YouTube channel. Airbnb with somebody else. They got to it before I could. That one was funny. Feeling the squeeze yet? They actively do this to us. And Christians think that it's wrong to say, hey guys, they're doing this. Can you help out so we can continue doing this without worrying about what we're going to, pay this one tomorrow, pay this one next week? I used to open up when I sent money over to Myanmar. Every month I did. I used to literally do a live video where I open, and as far as I know, I'm the only one that ever did this. Everything that I do is 100, and if you don't believe me on this one, go ask the people that are making the t-shirts. Did Rich give you this? Philip can confirm it because I had no idea you can actually see it on Venmo, but he saw. He's like, yeah, I saw you gave him $150. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, on Venmo for heat press. I'm like, you saw that? He goes, yeah, it's on Venmo. Unless you make it private. I'm like, I didn't even know I could do that. I had no idea. So he witnessed it. Actually, I'm using my phone as a camera, but I have the other one I can show you. But I used to open up my Western Union account and show, bam, we sent the money out. And then several pastors said, stop doing that. And I said, why? Are you afraid because we're showing accountability? He goes, no. But when you do that, you're literally, don't let your right hand know what your left hand doing. People should give to you and trust what you're doing. You shouldn't have to every week go on there and do that. At first, okay, get it. People know you, now they trust you, but you shouldn't have to do it every week. And not that too, but you're putting those who are receiving the money at jeopardy. I said, how do you figure? Well, where you're sending it to, they're actively going after Christians. We already know that certain people and things watch me. Intuit watches me. We know that. That was confirmed. Girl got fired because we played her clip of a whistleblower. She got fired. And Pacific Justice Institute is taking up her case against them for doing what they did, because they literally fired her because they said she gave it to me and I shared it, and I'm an anti-LGBT whatever, and that doesn't coincide with their values, as if that has anything to do with anything, what I do. And because David, listen to what David did. David dressed up as Hitler and stood outside their office with a sign that said Intuit are Nazis, because they wanted to fire Christians for not using pronouns. So because of David and I, she got fired. And that's bullying. That's what they. So she lost her income because of standing up, because she refused to bow down to the pronoun perverts. She lost her job. Who's going to help her? Oh, Sheila, I've been audited twice already. That's when that devil says tax evasion. Bring it. I dare you. Bring it. I was audited 2 years ago. And you know what the IRS found? I'll tell you. I don't care. They found that my ex-wife, when we were married over a decade ago, had some money she made somewhere, and because I was married to her at the time, I owed like $50 or $100, something like that. That's what they found. That's it. That is it. I got audited by the West Virginia tax office because they made complaints to them about me. You know what I found out? It actually cost them more money to audit me than anything else, because as it turned out, I didn't even owe them any money because there was nothing to give. Because everybody is, oh, look at this, he's making all his money. First of all, donations, they didn't even ask about that. But because we had the t-shirts on our website and stuff like that, they went after me for it. They actually turned out to owe me money. And I have 6 children. Why would I not file a tax return? Think about that. Why would I not? And again, I know I'm just whatever at this point, but and again, I want to be 100% transparent with everything that I say and do, because people lie. But like my wife just said, I have 6 children here. Why would I not file taxes? Why would I not file taxes? I mean, that's the dumbest thing ever. I just gave you a list of names of people to verify if I spent that money on them when we all that money preaching. They'll tell you I did. Absolutely. Matter of fact, years ago when these guys started me, they defended me and said, oh, no, he did. He absolutely did. 100% he did. But you can ask them if you don't believe me. Be my guest. I don't care. If you want, I'll even post the pictures of all the... I don't care. I have nothing to hide. And if you're donating and you want to see it, I will gladly give it to you. If you want to email the guys, the teacher, and ask them, hey, did Rich give you this? Yep. Actually, you know what? Because they're not even around right now. So they're on, and I'm not going to tell you where they are because people need to know and try to track them down. But go ahead and send them an email when they get back. Ask them. If you want, better yet, hold on. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back. I'm going to show you. I will literally be right back. Just give me a second.
You don't have to wait on...
Okay. I'm going to show you real quick. For those who want to question it, you know, and again, I know they're going to whatever. And like I said, I don't care about the critics anymore, but let me show you this. This is my Venmo for the heat press that I just gave him. That's for the heat press. I literally just sent it. Okay? So don't tell me that we're not doing this. And again, I would show you the whole thing here, but we do pay some of our bills and stuff out of it, and we do give money to others, and I'm not going to jeopardize them with their names on here because of that. So let me do this, and you can see it live instead of a screenshot there. How's that? Yeah, there we go. So I'll show you that part. How's that? That's my Venmo account right there. So you can see it live. There you go. So you can see that part of it, at least on that one profile there. Okay. I have no problem being open about stuff. None whatsoever. All right. But yes, I'm going to ask those people who follow our ministry and see what we do if they could help us in our ministry capacity, as well as my wife and family, because of what we do. It's literally, and I kid you not, and I've never said it to you before, and I'm just being as transparent as possible. We've lost everything. Just about everything we've lost. People think because, oh my gosh, you got lawsuits going. Like Tennessee, we settled it. Do you think we're getting a big paycheck? No. First of all, I'm not getting anything. Secondly, my daughter, she's getting, well, you'll see when it comes. It's nothing. Civil rights cases usually settle, and we get a whopping $1. That's it. A whopping $1. So if people want to run their mouths and say things all the time, they're wrong. They have no idea. But people see they do that because they don't want you supporting ministries like ours, because we are effective at what we do. We do shut down, and everybody that follows me and watches knows that 150% fact. Everybody knows that. It's what most people know me for, unfortunately. We shut them down. Okay? I have testified. And again, this is not a knock at any street preacher, so please don't take it that way. But how many preachers do you know have testified in House Judiciary committees against Facebook, where they actually sent a lobbyist down? Okay. How many of you know who do that? And again, I am not knocking anyway, so please don't take it that way at all. But how many people do you know have done that? How many people have testified against the drag queen stuff in a House Judiciary Committee hearing? My critics certainly haven't. I have it on a video. It's on the channel. You can go back and look. I'm trying to find it now. See if I can play it for you guys. I'll just give you a little clip here so you can see it again, because again, I have to prove everything, and I'm willing to do that. So let me fire it up here, and you can see I'm sitting there in the House testifying. So the first I'm going to show you this is against Facebook.
Item 11, HB 2458. We have a motion and a second. Representative Griffey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And committee members, House Bill 2458 is proposed to stop the Social Media Censorship Act here in Tennessee. What this act would do, it would only apply to social media websites that have more than 75 million subscribers who from their inception have not been affiliated with a religious or political
let me fast forward
party.
to get to my testimony.
And that is essentially the amount of censorship a user's religion would allow them to address them, just or political speech. I do have a couple of individuals here that wanted to testify to the committee about this, Reverend Rich Pertowski and Reverend Dale Walker, if the committee would allow them to address them.
Any questions before we go out of session? Any objection to going out of session? I did not hear from Pastor Dale, I know very well. I did hear from Rich Penkoski, Warriors for Christ. He is scheduled to testify. Mr. Penkoski?
I believe Reverend Walker said he would not be testifying, just Reverend Rich.
Okay. Is he here?
Yes, he's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Come up, please, if you'd like to. You have 4 minutes, and we'll give you a warning at about 3 minutes. Any objection to going out of order? Out of session. All right, out of session. Reverend, you're recognized.
I'm here as
Please introduce yourself so that we'll have a record of your appearance.
My name is Rich Penkoski. I run the ministry Warriors for Christ, and I am here as someone who has been dubbed the most censored person on Facebook in America. We're in the media a lot, and our media exposure actually began with with Facebook censoring us. We've been featured in Christian Post, American Family Association, Conservative Firing Line, and again, it all started with the censorship of Facebook. Facebook has deplatformed me 4 times and has banned me so much that I can't even count. I've been banned for sharing things from Fox News. I've been banned for sharing photos of angels. I've even gotten banned for sharing my legally trademarked logo. The censorship has gotten so bad that Neil Potts himself, which is Facebook's policy director, got on the phone with myself and Steve Jardal from American Family Association to try to answer why they've been censoring us. He could not provide one example of what Facebook calls hate speech, which has prompted me to ask who determines what hate speech is. So why do I bring this up today? It's because Facebook is a private company. And can Facebook do whatever it wants with its platform? Yes. But Facebook hides behind Section 230, which gives them immunity to civil penalty because they state they are not publishers. For those of you who don't know, Section 230 says online intermediaries that host or republish speech are protected against a range of laws that might otherwise be used to hold them legally responsible for what others say and do. Section 230 does not apply to Facebook because Facebook is acting as a publisher by censoring content they don't like. They allow people who support their ideology to say and do whatever they want. I receive comments daily on Facebook that I should kill myself, I should die, I should drink bleach. People post photos of weapons they want to use on me, needles, knives, guns, everything else. I can't even go out and preach anymore, because I need SWAT teams, I need armed guards to protect me to exercise my First Amendment rights. So Facebook will censor me for sharing stuff that these people are saying to me, but they do nothing to those who are actually doing it. So is Facebook a platform or is Facebook a publisher? And if you want to know what they are, let's look at the definitions. A platform is a company or technology that enables communication and distribution of information. A good example of this is a phone company. When talking to a friend, certain words or ideas you communicate don't get censored or buzzed out. A platform is not responsible legally for the content that's posted. A publisher is a company or person that curates and distributes content. Mark Zuckerberg has said that is his responsibility. In 2015, an app startup called 6-3 sued Facebook in California, and Sonal Mehta, Facebook's attorney, said in court that Facebook is a publisher, not a platform like they say in public. Facebook cannot hide behind Section 230 and is a publisher, and that makes this a state issue. I am currently, right now, being throttled by Facebook's algorithm because I preach a biblical worldview on human sex and sexuality. I have never threatened anyone. I've never advocated for. I've never incited violence ever. Yet Facebook has routinely censored us, deplatformed us. They even did so while a young woman reached out to us who was who was thinking about committing suicide. They actually unpublished my page while we're in the middle of talking to this woman, and they claim immunity because they're simply saying that they don't actually publish anything. They just use their platform to allow it. But Facebook is not doing that. They are publishing information. They allow...
Reverend, that's 3 minutes, 15 seconds.
My children have been assaulted in school. My wife has had private medical data shared on Facebook. I've had my identity stolen. Facebook, they allowed my social security number to be shared all over their platform. They've done nothing. They've done absolutely nothing to protect myself and my family while they allow others to do whatever they want. I had to seek 4 restraining orders. I've had 1 defamation case as a result of what Facebook allows on their platform. They've unpublished our page, again, while we were trying to counsel someone in suicide. By choosing to censor Christians, Facebook is acting as a publisher. When they allow pedophiles, child groomers, and Antifa to use their platform without censorship while they censor Christians, they are acting as publishers, and since they are publishers, Section 230 immunity does not apply, and it becomes a state issue.
Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate you coming. Questions? That 3 minutes, 59 seconds, 93 hundredths. That's about as close as it gets. You have 7 thousandths or 7 hundredths of a second if you'd like to continue. Thank you. I appreciate that. Questions? Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Reverend, for your testimony today. I'm sure, like the rest of the panel, I'm surprised to hear that you'd be taken down or I guess use the deplatformed.
Yes.
Is that the correct? While you were counseling a young woman who was considering suicide, can you tell me more? Was there something specific that happened during that exchange that caused Facebook to flag that exchange?
It was actually not even in public. She reached out to us via message on our page, so it was private, so nobody in public could even see it. And she reached out to us because we have our ministry, and a lot of people from all over the world reach out to us for help. We offer counseling and whatnot. She reached out to us through our Facebook page because that's how most people kind of find us. And she was telling us that she wanted to end her life. So we started engaging in her, praying with her, preaching with her, and just about to get her phone number so we can get it off Facebook. And that's when Facebook literally just took my whole page down, and I had no way to access her anymore.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Was that, I'm just trying to understand that scenario, was that coincidental? In other words, were they shutting you down for something that was going on the page that people could see publicly?
Yes.
Or was, okay, so that it really didn't have to do with that
No,
conversation?
it's just that that's an example of them censoring us. Why we're doing things like that, because, you know, they'll claim things like hate speech and whatnot, but they can't actually define it. Again, it's simply we preach a biblical worldview on certain social issues, and we do keep it biblical from our standpoint. But anytime you say anything against it, Facebook shuts it down, or they, like I said, they use algorithms to where they'll limit the distribution for content. And it just so happened that one of these instances, a woman did reach out to us. So my point of bringing that up is that Facebook is hurting people by doing things like that.
I see. And do you mind sharing with us in that instance then, what was the claim by Facebook? What was going on in the public facing side of your site or your page that required them to, in their mind, to shut you down?
They actually could not answer the question. We have them on audio with Steve Jordal from American Family Association. He got a three-way phone call with Neil Potts, and he asked the very question, and they could not provide an answer.
Okay.
Anything else, Chairman? Other questions? All right. Anyone else? Anything else before we go back in session? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Back in session. Representative Griffey, questions for Representative Griffey. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess this question would be generally, and maybe Representative Griffey would know, and I know Facebook's not on trial here specifically, but is there anybody here that could speak to any of that? I mean, I think I'd just be curious to know.
You're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I did have
Watch this.
a lobbyist that represented his social media platforms. I don't see her here. Oh, there you go. Hey, do you want to address?
Yeah, no.
They prefer not. They prefer not to address.
No, I understand. Representative.
So they had a Facebook lobbyist there who was working behind the scenes. See, you guys don't even know half this stuff. So there's a woman from Facebook that was there, and she knew that we were behind the bill to try to stop them. And she was there for about 2 weeks prior to working on Representative Griffey and several other representatives and senators to try to combat this. But when we went public with it, that's why I heard people laughing. Do you have anything you want to say? No. And that's why everybody laughed, because they had nothing to say. And then after that session was over, when we got to sit down and talk with everybody, one-on-one and all that, even the representatives, they were like, wow, and all that. So we did that for Facebook. Now watch this for the drag queen stuff that we did in the drag queen stuff.
Yeah, Rich Penkowski and I run Warriors for Christ Ministries here in Tennessee.
And where do you live? What jurisdiction?
I'm wearing a yellow
in Middle
shirt.
Tennessee. I don't want to put where I
Okay,
live.
I understand. Okay, your time has begun. Thank you, sir.
So I'm here obviously today to support the bill, mostly because I've traveled all over the country and I've been to more of these events than anybody else you're probably going to speak with. And I could tell you that these events specifically appeal to the period interest of children. And make no mistake about it, that's exactly what's taking place in these libraries. I have videos. I've been involved with the mass resistance folks. I've been involved in exposing pedophiles, convicted pedophiles that have been given access to children, prostitutes, drug dealers, drug addicts, all reading stories to children in the name of tolerance. I hear a lot of talk about this bill being about book burning and censorship, and I really believe that's a pretty far stretch. Because this bill is not anything about that. This bill is very specific in its intent, and it's very specific in its language. This bill is to prevent sexual material from being entered into libraries, especially material that would appeal to the period interest of children. Libraries would never allow photos, and I've censored this, so you don't have to, I'm not going to show you what's actually, you asked about the photo, here it is, and I censored it so you can't see.
Sir,
Yeah.
that wasn't brought to us before,
Oh, okay.
so if you please put that aside. Thank you.
So in Putnam County specifically, a drag queen stood outside the library and exposed his genitalia to a child. That was actually brought to the attention of the library staff, the people that are supposed to have oversight, that we say they're doing their jobs. You know what they did about it? Absolutely nothing. Instead, they had another drag queen story hour and invited the same people back. So the people that we're saying have oversight are not doing their jobs, okay? This is happening across the country. This has not only happened here, but in Maryville, Tennessee, a library actually set up a table and display of sexual material with photographs of female genitalia on that table that were targeted to teenagers. And it wasn't until we got involved that they took it down. It's the same thing happened in Putnam County Library. They set up a display specifically targeting children with sexual material, and nobody did anything about it until we got involved. And I'm talking to myself, as Pastor Dale Walker from Tennessee Pastors Network. The librarians there are opposed to Christianity. They came out and made videos threatening me. They solicited groups from Louisiana that were in the news for making death threats against me. And the librarian got a slap on the wrist and a letter of admonition in her folder. That's it. If I was a Christian, I did that, I'd have been fired from that library. So the people that are supposed to be in charge to make sure this isn't happening are, again, not doing their jobs. Monday night, there was a violent storm that ripped through Tennessee. The tornadoes affected several counties. But the fact that it didn't affect every county, is it something we should simply ignore? Do we pretend it didn't happen? No. Maybe these events aren't happening in your libraries. And if they're not, praise God for that. But you know what? They are happening at libraries across the state. And if they're not happening in yours yet, make no mistake about it, they will. The people are supposed to have oversight. They in favor of these events. They work with these groups of people to bring them in. We've done FOIA requests all over the state, including Putnam. And the libraries there are the ones who advocate and bring these people in. How could you have oversight of a program that you are advocating for?
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you. Does anyone else?
So again, I'm not ripping on anybody, so please don't misunderstand me, but who else is doing stuff like that? Testifying in House committee meetings against Facebook. We actually helped write a law to ban drag queens from the libraries. And that whole thing erupted, by the way, and I'll tell you the result of that. So what happened was one of the senators wanted to do a secret vote, but Representative Holt actually said no. He wanted open vote. He thinks this is an issue that the public should know how each member voted. Well, they got mad and delayed the vote and then completely went up, it messed the guy over. So I went down there and I met individually with representative senators, and I sat in Representative Brian Crawford's office. He was a representative for Bristol, Tennessee. And I said, what happened there? This was a good bill. This bill literally said not to bring things into a public library that appeals to the pureness of a child. What happened? And you know what he said to me? He says, well, we didn't want an open vote because, some of us have family members that are LGBT and we want to offend them. I said, wait, hold up a second. I said, you're telling me that you killed a bill that was to keep sexual material out of the hands of children in public libraries because family members would be upset? I said, here's what I'm going to do, Representative Crawford. I said, I'm going to go, I know you own a trophy shop in Bristol, and I know where you go to church. I'm going to go out on the public sidewalk with my bullhorn during the day in front of your trophy shop, and I'm going to make sure every customer that you have going in there knows that you killed a bill that literally said that we cannot have material that would appeal, sexual material to appeal to young children in a library. You killed the bill because you were afraid that one of your family members might get offended by your vote. And then I'm going to go to your church, and I'm going to stand out there before the church service begins as people are pulling in and going in, and let the people you fellowship with know that you sacrificed Tennessee children because one of your family members might get their feelings hurt. And you know what he did after that? He literally went, it was me, Dale Walker was sitting there. He goes, oh, okay, here's what we'll do. He says, how about this? What if we go to the secretary, not commerce, forget what it was, and we charge and say, hey, listen, if the libraries have the drag queen, we will strip their funding. And I said, now you're talking. And I said, but how do I know you're actually going to do this? And he called and he said, yes, there hasn't been a drag show in a library in Tennessee since. And you know why? I had found this out afterwards. Governor Bill Lee, the governor of the state of Tennessee, who's still the governor, a good guy, by the way, great man of God. He actually said, if Rich Penkoski says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So you'll notice that the only people that are against guys like myself are the online trolls. I got an email from a senator in Tennessee. Okay. And he wants to meet with me and my lawyer in Tennessee over something that has nothing to do with what's going on online here. Something completely different. But there's a law in Tennessee. It's a bad law. He wrote to me, congratulations on the meeting. I look forward to talking with you. Debbie will reach out to you. Blessings. About a bad law. Now, again, I hated saying that because I already know that my trolls are going to try to contact the center to keep it from happening, but they are already aware of who these guys are, and he thinks they're evil too. But these guys were, and think about it, these trolls are so bad that there's a bad law in Tennessee that needs to be fixed. And it has to do with free speech. There's and my lawyer wants to sit down and talk to him about it to fix it, and we're going to get it fixed. But I want you to understand something. The people that are against what we do would literally sacrifice your free speech rights just so I don't do it. Just so I'm not out there preaching this stuff and working with, with these people. And again, I'm not saying this to please, oh my gosh, look at Rich Mikowski, he's so amazing. I wouldn't be able to do any of this if it weren't for God. I would not know a lick of any of this if it weren't for God. Nothing. I could show you here an email from a representative here in Oklahoma when they're writing their bill against a drag show here to stop it. Do you know what he said to me? He gave me a copy of the bill, and he said to me, does this bill do what you need it to do? So this is stuff that goes on that you don't see. And we don't video it because, number one, is when we have meetings with senators and representatives, I'm not going to film it because what do you think is going to happen if I think about it? What's going to happen if I do? If I came out right now and told you of all the names of the people that I'm working with here in Oklahoma, what do you think is going to happen the minute if I revealed their names? What do you think will happen? They would go after them hardcore just for associating with me. So I need to, and for me, protecting those people is more important than me trying to give, hey guys, I'm working with Senator so-and-so and Representative so-and-so. When it's done, then I could talk about it. But until then, I won't say a word. So who else is doing this stuff? Who? Nobody. And again, I'm not knocking anybody at all. This is just what God has me doing. God's obviously not really doing this. I wish more people would, but this is what we're doing. This is the stuff you don't see. You don't see any of this stuff. Since I've been in Oklahoma, and again, oh, Rich is bragging, whatever. Say what you want. I don't care anymore. Since we've been here in Oklahoma, we have got the Oklahoma Children's Hospital. We exposed it and stopped them from doing surgeries on children and giving them puberty blockers. Oklahoma State University was doing drag shows. They don't do it anymore. We stopped that. Bartlesville, Oklahoma, the whole city, they replaced the entire Republican Party in Washington County because of us preaching out there. That was street preachers, me, David, and Jim Gillis specifically, that went out there and preached against it and got that done. We exposed to over 2 million people, I think, at this point, that saw what those perverts were doing in front of those kids. Over 2 million people, because Libs of TikTok shared it, of what they did in front of those children on that stage and in the crowd. While they denied it publicly, we had the video and shared it. Why do you think the devil is so angry and wants to come at us and go at us? Why he doesn't want people to support us? Because we are a threat to him and his kingdom. We are a threat to the agenda that seeks to sexualize and groom children. And anybody that seeks to destroy that or they can't destroy it, they could try. They are indeed children of the devil. So my challenge to you critics is put up or shut up. It's easy to sit back in your computer and talk about it, but you know what? What we find is that most of you are simply LGBT activists. You will work with and yoke up with LGBT folks to literally try to criminalize God's word and make it hate, and then turn and say it's no big deal, after all the evidence shows otherwise. Yes, Eric Love and JT Olson absolutely are LGBT activists. And I don't say that as a slander. I don't say that as a railing. You help LGBT people censor Christians and censor the word of God, and that's exactly what happened. Go look for yourself. Go look at how often a chief justice of a state Supreme Court anywhere makes a motion to disposition a case in the highest court in the state. That almost never happens. They only keep cases there that they deem extremely important and relevant. So they can minimize, they can lie, and whatever. But the fact is this, they work with LGBT folks to criminalize God's word. And it was so bad what they did. I want you to think about this. If you were sitting in a church and a pastor stands up and he says Matthew 18:6, Romans 1, he's preaching these sermons, and somebody gets offended in the pew, they go get a restrainer against that. They could do that. If this case, that's what they can do. And these guys help them while pretending to be Christians. And then they use the sexual abuse of me as a child as a weapon. And then their friends laugh at it and like it. People that you follow, the black conservative preacher, that's who his friends are now. And they get mad for me exposing it. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. LGBT activists further the LGBT agenda. It's as simple as that. And guys like myself, David Grisham, Jim Gillis, Adam Bishop, all of us stand in their way. And that's why they all hate us. They all hate us. Even Bible believers, John Wayne, all of them, they all are opposed to the LGBT agenda. Every one of us is opposed to it. Everybody. Victor's group down there in Florida, I mean, awesome bunch down there. We're all opposed to it. We're all a threat to their kingdom of darkness. Every one of us. And they hate us. It's just that, the Lord has put me in a position to be more vocal about it and more in your face about it with them and exposing it more. Doesn't mean anybody else is less important than me in that regard. It just means that that's how the Lord's using me to do it. And for that, my family has been harassed, threatened. We've had my car. I mean, I could go out right now and take a picture and show you what's left of my car, what they did to my car. The first one, what they did to it. They destroyed it. And you know what? The finance company said, too bad. I still owe $6,000 on that car. So you know what's going to happen to me? And I'll tell you right now, I can't pay that. So I have to give it back to them in the condition it's in. They'll sell it, and I'll still probably owe about $4,000 on it. And what's going to happen then? And that's a direct result of ministry because of standing against the LGBT. And by the way, there is police reports. All these people that love to do their digging, why don't they ever show the police reports? I mean, they're public record. You can go get them. But they never do for some reason. I wonder why that is. So when I say that my family and I have lost everything, literally, with the exception of our clothes and our bed and the ministry stuff I have here, we have lost everything. We literally struggle every month. We always find a way, praise God, to cover the bills. But we struggle financially. We're not rich. We're not poor, but we're not rich. We're middle class, just like most of America, that lives paycheck to paycheck. Essentially, we don't really get a paycheck anymore. So we have to make do with what we have and pick and choose what to pay and when to pay it. But that's life. And I know I've lost a lot of people already, and it's probably because I've been on forever, and it's already 11:30 at night, and I didn't mean to go on about this, and I apologize. So I'll probably download this, cut this part off, and use it as a separate video because it really is two separate types of videos. But I'm going to ask you guys tonight. Again, I don't care what the critics say. I don't care what the slanderers say anymore. I think that they've revealed themselves of who they really are. I think the enemies of God are actually more out now than ever. And I think that people that call themselves Christians are so deceived that they're willing to believe anything anyone says if they like the person or if they hate me enough to say it. Look at this woman, Stacey Miller. This is another winner that's on their side. This is a woman who literally came out there and is literally trying to do things to try to make us look bad from 12 years ago and doesn't know what she's talking about, by the way, until what she said gets put out there, and then she runs and blocks and everything else. Because we actually have proof. And they don't like evidence. They don't like proof. This is what Christians, and I'm telling you this, you're going to have to deal with this too. That's part of being a ministry. But part of being a ministry is having your Christian sisters and brothers help you when you need it. What is this? Bartlesville will likely enter stage 3. What? Hold on, let me see what this is real quick. Water shortage act. Uh-oh. I'll have to see about that. That's not relevant to you guys there. I'll talk to who I need to talk to about that. So I'm asking you guys tonight, if you would, we'd appreciate anything to help ministry, even my family, just to cover some of our expenses in our life because of what we're doing. Everything we do is for the Lord, every bit of it. I could take a camera in my house, show you all the scriptures around my house, the Bible verses, the Bibles, everything. And you know what? I don't need to brag about that stuff, but being a minister costs stuff. And maybe it's time for me to do teaching on giving. I don't know. because it wouldn't just help me, it would help other people that other Christians follow. Maybe it'll help them give to their favorite preacher who's out there doing stuff. I'm not the only one doing things. But we would sure appreciate it and would help us out tremendously if we can get people that would help on a monthly basis. Number one is I would love to implement that SMS thing on our website. $60 a month. I need help covering that. There's another one. I can't remember what it was. I have it on my phone, on my iPhone up there. That's $6 a month. I need help covering that. And just to give you an idea, my website server costs $128 a month. Okay, I've been paying that for how many years now? The streaming software is $50 a month. To stream on Rumble is $10 a month. My internet bill, and I only have as high of internet I have is for this, so it's like $9, something like that a month. It's all expensive. And we find a way to do it, but we do need help with it. And I've never asked for it like this until it was an emergency, like when our car broke, and we just I have no choice. But as ministers, my family and I, we do need help from our brothers and sisters, because we put everything we have into what we do ministry-wise. And by the way, VA benefits are not welfare. VA disability benefits are not welfare. And anybody that says it is literally disrespecting every single one of our disabled veterans in this country. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves for saying that. So if you want to help, our website is officialstreetpreachers.com/give is the donation link there. You can even use Cash App on there. I don't need a Cash App account. They took it my Cash App account, but I found a way around it. They can't take this away. So if you have Cash App, you can use that on the website. Membership area is still being worked on. Newsletter, again, I'm trying to do that SMS thing to do it so that we can get what's going on every month, what's going on out there for you guys, so we can get all that information out to you. The members area of the website is literally going to be for sharing information with people that we trust. And the only reason, you notice it's like $2 a month. It's nothing. And that's because you have to use your credit card so we can verify who you are, because the things we're going to talk about there are not going to be for public consumption. There are things that we talk about, tips, tricks, things like that we will not share with the public. And at some point next year, we're already talking, and I'm be honest, I'm conferenced out. That's me, not you guys. You guys go if you feel led to. We are going to have a conference at some point next year, and it's going to be invite only, and it's going to be because, again, the things we want from a conference are how to help you go talk to your senator, what to do, what to say, how to email, what to email, when to email, what do you do, how do you do this, what do you share, all of these things. How do you get the pride of it to get the money taken out with these corporations? How do you do it? We do it, by the way. We have a whole strategy, but we're not going to reveal it publicly because the enemy would use that and learn. And believe me, the enemy puts every dime and every person they have available to try to stop and circumvent what we do. So we need to make sure when we share these things with people, we trust them so that we can continue to do them to stop what they do. Again, the gates of hell will never prevail against the church of God. So I hope and I pray that this video is a blessing to you, and I hope that we all, myself included, can learn something from all of this. People are hurting out there, and we need to make sure that we are being the best witness possible, and make sure that even in our love for people and our care for people and our desire to help, we just need to make sure that we're saying and doing the right thing to actually help, and not do things so we can take credit and go say, look, I helped this person. If you really want to help people, you need to take yourself out of the equation and just be there for them. And do not perpetuate abuse. Do not tell victims to be silent. Do not tell victims to not talk about their abuse because you don't like it or because of this or that, the other. Don't re-victimize people. Be a blessing to them. Lean on the Holy Ghost. And don't think you know everything. And don't get triggered like you saw guys here today, because you know what? You don't know everything. I don't know everything. I love you guys. God bless you guys. Again, if you do want to help the ministry or help us as ministers to help cover what we do each month, our website, officialstreetpreachers.com/give. My Zelle is admin at officialstreetpreachers.com. And our Venmo is at officialstreetpreachers. We have those three. If you have Cash App, you can use Cash App on the website. Official Street Preachers is the donate link. But make sure you bookmark the Street Preachers website. We're almost done with it, you guys. Subscribe to it. And when I get the extra money to put that SMS platform on there, the newsletter platform on there, we're going to do that. Believe me, we've got a lot of stuff paid for already. And we had a brother give. We had one person who helped tremendously with that because, well, I put out that money, there's more expense than that to it. Anybody that knows anything about design and website and plugins and all that knows it's very, very expensive. We also want to help Angie and Greg build their t-shirt website for all of us. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any anymore to give them for that. It's going to cost, my developer said, about $1,200 to build them a WooCommerce site. They have a website now, but again, it's very rough. But right now, they're relying on people emailing them. We got them a new computer, supercharged, awesome computer. You want to see it, by the way? I could show you. Greg. Let me see, Greg. Sorry, I got so many messages. I got to scroll down when I sent it to him. Where is it? Eric, Adam, you were aware that you're Tom, Tommy, Terry, Alan, Google, Key, David, Kevin, Wes, John, Tracy. Man, I can't find it. Hold on, let me find it. There it is. There, okay, so let me show you this. This is what he's getting for his t-shirt stuff. Okay, you guys can see. That's what we got for him to do it because he needs that for the software. And if you don't believe me that we're doing it, go ask him. You go ask him yourself. It's okay. I don't mind. I showed the pictures. I showed the Venmo. I don't care. I'm forthcoming. That's what I said. You want to bring something against me with that stuff? I dare you. Because when you do, and I could prove that you're a lying slanderer in court, it'll be fun watching you squirm. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I know it's a long video. I'll probably chop up that last hour and a half and turn it into a separate video. But for those of you who did hang out tonight for this longer video, I really do appreciate it because I know 3.5 hours is very long. But tonight's video was something I felt really to do. I felt like it was one of the more important things I've ever done. And my desire is that we all become better Christians. Myself, everybody, that's all I want. I want all of us to be better Christians. I don't want any fighting amongst brethren. I really don't. I love all of my brothers and sisters in Christ, even though sometimes families fight. If anybody has brothers and sisters, sometimes we have fights. That's right. Sometimes even $5 a month is enough. Everybody gave $5 a month. That's over $100 right there. That almost covers the hosting cost. Some people give more, some people give less. But we appreciate all of it, every bit of it. I had a guy that used to give $2 a month through Cash App, and he used to apologize every time. Like, stop apologizing. But if you are being blessed and you do see what we're doing and you do find value in it, we sure could use your help. On our YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe. And if you did get something out of this, please share with others and encourage others. But as of now, I feel clear, if that makes sense. I don't need to worry about these guys anymore because I truly feel in my spirit that what needs to be said is said, and the people that can see them for who they are. The Bible tells us that people are deceivers. They're going to be out there. There's no stopping them. But we can choose whether we want to be deceived or not. That's up to us. My brothers and sisters, I appreciate every last one of you. I really, really do. And those of you who reached out and said you're sorry, I do appreciate that. There's nothing to apologize for. Those brothers and sisters that I've had calls with, I love you very much, every one of you, because without you guys, some of this would be a lot harder than it is. Adam, Jim Gillis especially, David Grisham especially. Jim Gillis and David Grisham have been and let's be honest, this year has not been a great one for me. Losing Ruben, lost my mother, and now this. It hasn't exactly been. The devil is really, really trying to get me to not do what we're doing. But it's not going to work. I have some amazing brothers in my life, and I appreciate every one of them. And I hope you can find those as well. And I hope I could be a better brother to some of you if you need me to. With that said, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week. We'll catch up with you, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday night. God bless you.
are offending God.